Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show here on this Monday morning. Hopefully everybody had a really nice weekend, beautiful weekend here in South Louisiana. Looking forward to Monday's show as we'll talk to Will Wade coming up here at 7:30 this morning. Tigers get a huge win over the weekend versus Missouri as they were on the road, set themselves up as the third seed in the SEC basketball tournament. Third straight year LSU has gotten the double bye. We'll talk to their head coach, Will Wade, coming up here at 7:30 this morning. 11 wins this season. Has LSU 39 regular season SEC wins over the last three seasons. Nobody in the conference has done it better than LSU basketball the last 3 years as far as regular season wins. Coach Will Wade will be here after the latest with a big one over Missouri to put the Tigers third in the SEC field heading into the tournament. We will also talk to Tim Johnson coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning. Johnson is a really good friend of mine from a long time ago. In fact, I was a ring bearer in Tim Johnson's wedding as a young I believe I was like 11, 12 years old. But that was stemming from the relationship that Johnson and Don Redden had with one another. Redden, of course, was the face and captain of the 1986 LSU basketball team that went to the Final Four, a special team for so many in our area. Johnson was Redden's great friend. Today is the anniversary of Redden's death, a very unexpected death, and for whatever reason, I don't know if you've followed my career, but Don Redden was very close to me and my family at the time, and without question left a huge impact and mark on my life, and will always remember Don Redden as long as I have a platform to speak on. And Johnson is always a great resource to go to on Redden memories and classics, as he will be here at 8 o'clock this morning. And then Darnell Lazar, former LSU basketball player and now a part of the New Orleans Pelicans, will stop by here at 8:30 this morning and give us an idea of what the Pelicans should expect in the second half of the season. He'll also talk to us a little bit about the development of Zion Williamson. He was, of course, there last week versus when the Pelicans were taking on the Bulls, watching his former roommate, Garrett Temple, chase around J.J. Redick. We'll ask him about watching that matchup nearly 15 years after the Final Four run. So a lot to get to here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, daily our coffee is brought to you by Majestic Coffee. As our friends over at Majestic Coffee, you can get in touch with them at the Majestic Coffee Company on Facebook. They're on Instagram. A good friend Andrew Mattery came by and dropped off a great machine that spits out the Majestic Coffee daily here for you on the Jordy Culotta Show, and we're powered and driven by Go Chevrolet. Stop in and see Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the entire crew down at Go Chevrolet as they can get you set up this weekend. They can get you set up this week with a brand new make and model of Chevy. Lots to get to. The All-Star game last night in the NBA. Zion Williamson makes his first appearance in that All-Star game. He's got a couple of dunks to lead it off. Steph Curry shows his greatness with winning the three-point contest. The first round between he and Jason Tatum was classic as Curry went off for 31 points in the first round. Some news around the New Orleans Saints as they reconstructed a couple of deals over the weekend. But we will start with LSU going into the weekend and the Hush Blackwell fallout and what has come of it with the Les Miles and the LSU situation. We've learned a couple of things, right, over the last couple of days about this Hush Blackwell fallout and really about Les Miles. We learned that 2 LSU student workers filed sexual misconduct complaints against Miles, including an allegation that on at least one occasion, Miles kissed a student after taking them to his condo alone. We also learned that he pretty much sexualized the football team's staff of female student workers, the recruiting staff, allegedly demanding Sharon Lewis Mangum, who was overseeing that department, that he wanted big boobs and blonde hair to be hired for those positions, according to the investigation that was released late last week. The complaints against Miles were so serious that Joe Oliva, in fact, in 2013, was recommending that Miles be fired for cause. But the university relied on its counsel there and went with the counsel in saying that they would probably lose in court and have to pay Miles the $15 million. For what it's worth, the Hush Blackwell law firm that LSU hired in their 150 report investigation believed that Miles would have been fired for cause and would have been able to get, and that LSU would have been able to get out of that buyout, which was what LSU was concerned about, the financial fallout that would have come up if Miles would have been tried and fired for cause during the 2013 season. Kansas has come out and placed Miles on administrative leave. It's inevitable to me that he will never coach another college football game again. And more concerning, and this is a little off topic, but is Jeff Long that hired Les Miles at the University of Kansas, right? And we'll get. I'm detouring a little bit, but I'll come back to LSU. But Jeff Long, think about the situation that Jeff Long experienced in 2011, 2012 with his head coach at the time, Bobby Petrino, where Petrino is caught riding on a Harley Davidson through Fayetteville with a student worker or with a worker out of the athletic department who's a former athlete who's engaged to be married to another athletic employee at the University of Arkansas. I mean, you want to talk about just controversial. You want to talk about dramatic drama within a department that Jeff Long was running at the time as the athletics director at the University of Arkansas. And then he hires Les Miles at the University of Kansas, and an investigation shows into the hiring of Miles that there were no other candidates for the job that were interviewed. Long is asked on the record, under oath, in the investigation on who else he hired or who else he interviewed for the Kansas job. Jeff Long says under oath, I don't remember. So there was nobody else? I guess so, was his answer. Miles and Long's relationship go back to working together at the University of Michigan in the 70s. This was nothing but a good old boy handshake deal after Miles had been fired, and Long's paying him nearly $3 million a year after not interviewing anyone and after going through scandal at the University of Arkansas that nearly cost him his job while he was in Fayetteville for the way that he hired the Petrino situation. After that experience, he doesn't go through any other candidates to get to the University of Kansas as head coach and settles on Miles, who is a good friend of his, who you have to believe at some point had some conversation about what the hell was going on with him in Baton Rouge. Because if I can recall, and I do very vividly, people around the program claiming that when Bobby Petrino was caught red-handed with his mistress riding around campus and then ultimately lost his job, that Miles in-house, that got his attention. That he kind of sat up straight as if to say, you can lose your job for that? The reports handed out on Friday paint at the least a very unsavory scene within the university itself. Forget the stuff with Miles, and Miles comes across as just a stage 10 creep job. I mean, just a creeper on telling people who to hire, on the way he interacts with them, the messages about helping your career, to the creepy old man one-on-one in his car riding around campus late at night. I mean, just, ugh.
Just missing the motorcycle.
Barf. And I didn't know that it was possible for Joe Oliva to come out smelling like a rose like he did. I mean, for as many people that were ready to body bag Oliva and dump on him, I think his legacy is totally different if the council administration accept his offer of firing Miles in 2013. If he would have been the one that was the backbone of that decision, that's what people wanted from Joe Oliva while he was here. He had this reputation that he was very lazy. I mean, it was routine that you could walk through LSU's campus in the middle of the day, in the middle of the work day, Monday through Friday, and Oliva would have a helmet, tights on, ride his bike through campus. I mean, it was almost like became a running joke of, does this guy ever work? I mean, does he ever do anything that has really any meaningful decision or impact on the university? And this decision, if he would have been approved, would have almost rewritten his legacy here. I mean, for a guy that felt so out of touch, and for a guy that felt so, such a foreigner,
checked out almost.
Just very much not even very much interested in the day-to-day workings of the job. That would have gone a million miles for him. And like he said in the email to F. King and to the administrators at the time, they would have public support. They would have won the court of public opinion. The fan base and the people at the time would have been behind moving Miles because of just his failures as a football coach. Remember, Miles' life changed on January 7th, 2012, or January 9th, 2012. It totally changed in the eyes of even the most sincere LSU football fans that will support anyone that is in that position. He blatantly mismanaged that national championship preparation. He blatantly had his team underprepared for a second go-around for a national championship in New Orleans. And then he got on the podium and tried to lie to everybody about what he had going on. Jude Sansing, before you start warming up to Joe Oliva, remember he took what he took from you in basketball. Fair, but he also hired Will Wade.
Oh, then he doubled down and said it was the worst decision he's ever made.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, on your way up, fine. We like it.
That's fine. I mean, look, man, standing next to each other, if it's going back to Joe's polls of court of public opinion, you're out, Wade's in.
Yeah, it was as clear as day during the basketball game.
Hang your hat on it, buddy. It was a good hire, right?
Yeah.
But I just thought that after reading the Hush Blackwell report, first off, the athletic department under Oliva, I don't want to start, handing out bouquets too much to Oliva. It was run like a circus, right? I mean, like the protocols, and specifically on this Title IX stuff, I mean, the communication breakdown and the breakdown that was happening within was, I mean, inexplicable, really. I mean, how in today's age does that even go on? And as even the longest and one of the most loyal of staff members to LSU football said, this is maddening. This is incredible that we're allowing one guy in Miles to create this culture that in turn all of the employees are trying to protect. I mean, at one point, Sharon Lewis was trying to turn in her superiors for investigation because she was trying to move things up the ladder and get things investigated and ask for consequences and repercussions, and nothing was happening. So the leadership and the direction of the LSU athletic department seemed very much like a circus during that window of time. But it seemed like it also seeped into the entire university that the athletic department was and is the example that everyone will take away and talk about from this report. And I expect changes to come from the report.
Do you think that after Oliva wasn't heard about trying to file Miles for cause, that he kind of checked out? Was like, all right, if I can't get this done, like, what's the point of me even trying to do anything?
I think he especially checked out after he got the authorization from the boosters to make a move on Miles in 15, where he was carried off the field and they had the Jimbo Fisher deal done, and then had that pulled out from under him. That looked like that was the time where Oliva really just kind of lost it. And you know what? In Oliva's defense, I get that.
Right.
You know what I mean? What did you bring me in for if you don't want me to get this done?
You're not letting me do my job.
One thing that seems pretty inevitable here is that Miles had a connection to the Bobby Jindal office, directly to Jindal's office, who was the governor at the time, who was a terrible leader, a terrible governor, put this state in ruins. I mean, nearly backtracked this state 2 decades in some categories, to take away opportunities that this state was either set up or experiencing, and just dumped on them. Miles was obviously in tight with the Jindal campaign, a lot like Orgeron is right now with John Bel Edwards. I mean, Orgeron came under a bit of criticism for John Bel Edwards coming to practice and playing quarterback, and Orgeron going up to the governor's mansion and giving those reports and giving those COVID-19 messages, and it obviously looks like Miles had some type of connect for the governor's office or somebody at the highest power, because to me they had him dead to rights. I think from just a call standpoint in trying to move him, a lot like Hush Blackwell says in their report that they agreed with, that they could have moved on him, but it seemed like somebody from up top came in twice, because it definitely happened on the Jimbo Fisher deal, where somebody came in and said the state is experiencing so much of a budget cut. Well, none of the money was coming out of public funding. It was all privately raised. And they also lost they lost the support of a lot of the big money people during that time. They lost the support of big boosters, where they had Miles in a situation where you could have bought him out. You had the guy in place to replace him, but it was it was overridden. And the more you read into it and the more you pay attention, if you go back to it, Miles was always at Jindal's public campaigns, was always there publicly supporting him, was always around during that time. And it's become pretty clear to me, and after watching and reading that Miles obviously had a trump card somewhere. You know what I mean? He had an ace in the hole somewhere that was getting him out of this, because it was so. I'm telling you that, and Ross Dellinger's got a great write-up on it over at SI.com, kind of going back and talking about Les Miles, and the title of it is LSU's Systematic Failure at LSU and the Les Miles I Thought I Knew. And the opening line says, "We've had a lot of fun with Les Miles, but we've had a lot of fun for long enough." And Dellinger goes on to say in that article that here, and I'll read it to you. This is coming directly from SI.com. "The football staff members aren't the only ones at fault here. The university administrators aren't the only ones at fault here. The head coach isn't the only one at fault here. I'm at fault here too. I was close to the LSU football program and was close as any media member for at least 4 years. In Baton Rouge from 2014 to 2017. I thought I was digging enough. I filed public record requests on nearly a monthly basis back then. I broke negative news fairly consistently. I was dog-cussed by LSU administrators more than once, was barred from one-on-one interviews for several months, and received multiple threats to revoke my credentials. And still I sit here ashamed," writes Dellinger on his article over the weekend that came out talking about Les Miles and the fallout from the Hush Blackwell investigation. coming on at LSU. And like Dellinger said here a week ago today, like he wrote in his latest column at SI.com, and like I said last week in a tweet, that was kicked around and was probably a little irresponsible from the wording of it. Nobody at the time, and Dellinger was as close to the program as anybody as you'll find during that time period. Nobody ever heard any whispers, any rumors, anything to the signs of assault or harassment. It was always that just he was a hound talking about Miles. That any female that would walk in front of his face was either going to be eyeballed up and down, was either going to be uncomfortably questioned, or just hit on. I mean, like we said last week, the balls it takes for a married man to hand a young co-ed his cell phone and say, type your number in this phone under an alias. Like, huh?
That's old hat.
I mean, bro, that is just bold. You know what I mean? Just bold. I mean, it just gives you an idea of how it was everywhere. It was everywhere. And Kansas placed Miles on administrative leave, and I don't expect him ever to coach a college football again, nor do I expect Jeff Long to be making decisions at a high level. And the 30-day suspension for Verge Osbury and Miriam Seeger getting the 21 days. Verge is a friend of mine, but to me, I understand that he's got his consequence and Miriam does too, but they're the only two that comes out of this. That doesn't feel right. You know, and I'm not asking for anybody to lose their job at all. I'm just saying that only two people currently on the staff suffer consequence after a 180-page report is published. It just, you could see a lot of the backlash. A lot of the former players were speaking out over the weekend. I saw Blake Ferguson was very vocal, just about the way that it was handled. And I think that there will be a fallout. Tom Galligan, who is the interim president at LSU, says that they will continue to investigate and that the full details of the conclusion of this have not yet been written. So we'll see what comes out of this. But my just initial takeaways was that LSU, from an athletic department standpoint during that time period, was run like a circus. There was no protocol put in place. Joe Oliva could have changed the way that a lot of people thought about him if he would have received approval to run Miles in 2013, and it looked like they had enough evidence to do that. Miles, as we've said here numerous times, has always been a fraud, in my opinion. He's always been a fraudulent football coach who was so overrated to a fraudulent family man that he tried to sell the public on. So not surprised on a lot. And that's what I was talking about, the surprise element in the tweet on Friday, just the not surprise of the amount, the numbers that have come out and said something to the effect of Miles. Remember, daily, we're brought to you here by Manscaped. Remember, over at Manscaped, they've got the discount code, the JC Show. Right now, you can get over to Manscaped and find out how you can save great savings right now over at Manscaped if you use the discount code, the JC Show discount code over at manscaped.com. Get over there for 20% off. If you are posting on social media, make sure that you use the discount code. When you get over to manscaped.com, use the discount code JC Show, and you'll get 20% off for all of your Manscaped products. We received the products over here. It's fantastic. Nobody can tell you, or nobody can give you better advice about Manscaping than I can, right? Get over and use the discount code JC Show. Okay, over the weekend, LSU basketball with an enormous
win. What a
huge win LSU, with its 11th win this season, has won a league-best 39 regular season SEC games during that period of 19, 20, and 21. Their head coach, Will Wade, is set to stop by here as the Tigers will face the winner on Friday. Third year in a row, LSU will have the double bye. They will face the winner of number 6 seeded Ole Miss, who is very hot right now, and they will be taking on South Carolina. That game will be on the final game of the Thursday night and second round, and the winner will face LSU Friday. Will Wade, their head basketball coach, will stop by here next and give us a little preview here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers, all over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. All right, tough break for the only LSU Tiger last night in the All-Star game. Ben Simmons was set to be a starter on Team LeBron for whatever reason. Due to cut his hair, the barber tested positive for COVID, which means that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons had to miss last night's action in the All-Star game.
What are these barbers doing, dude? That's the second one.
You kidding me, man?
For the Super Bowl and the All-Star game.
Another former LSU Tiger, Shaquille O'Neal, with a big birthday celebration over the weekend. LSU was able to serve up the big fella a birthday gift as they get past Missouri 86-80 as LSU takes care of business. Trenton Watford played well. Cam Thomas with 29, make of 10 and 12. Maybe it was 10 of 12 at the free throw line on Saturday. Will Wade, their head coach, joining us now here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, every time we talk to Will Wade here on the show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Stop in and see Anthony and the crew today as they have a great Lenten menu and a great seafood menu to choose from. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Jordy?
What a win Saturday.
Let's go, Coach.
Your group looked in control from the time of tip-off to the final 6 minutes is as good as I thought you've played all season. What was your biggest takeaway from the 86-80 win?
Well, I thought the biggest takeaway was we were able to hang in there. You know, we got down in the second half, and, you know, the last couple of times, same thing kind of happened at Arkansas, and the roof caved in on us. But we were able to withstand Missouri's run and work our way back in there. I also thought we executed our game plan for a vast majority of the game better than we have most of the season. I thought our guys were locked in. We kept the ball out of the post with Tillman. We did a good job. I mean, they had some of their tertiary guys hit some threes. Guys who hardly ever play or don't even shoot. That one guy hit 2 threes. He'd hit 1 3 all year. One of 14 coming into the game. But that's what you want. You want to force those type guys to try to beat you. And I thought we did a better job sticking with the game plan. Obviously, Trendon and Cam made some huge plays for us down the stretch, which we needed. But it was a really, really good team win. It was a quad 1 road win. something that hopefully can ignite us and give us a little bit of momentum going into the SEC tournament this week.
6 ties, 6 lead changes in the final 20 minutes. What did you see over your group from your group in that last half that was able to get you guys to win?
Yeah, I thought we stayed together. I thought when we went down, the ball moved instead of just one guy trying to play one-on-one. I thought the ball was moving side to side. We got better looks. We got to the free throw line a lot more in the second half. Of course, there's a ton of fouls called on both teams in the game, but we did a much better job of forcing our issue and getting to the paint and drawing fouls. That Arkansas game, that last road game, it was 10-1 fouls in the second half. And I'm not saying we didn't foul 10 times, because I think we did foul probably most of those 10 times, but we didn't do a good job of, my point to the team was afterwards, we didn't do a good job of forcing them to call fouls on Arkansas. Arkansas only had one foul. And, when you're struggling to score, when the game gets bogged down in the half court, you want to be a team that can get some free points at the free throw line. And we've been really good at that here. And for whatever reason, we lost our way a little bit on the road in a couple games where we just couldn't drive the foul count up. And I thought we did a much better job of that at Missouri. We were in the bonus with, 5-6 minutes into the half, for the last 14, 15 minutes of the game, we were shooting free throws on every foul. So I thought we did a really good job there. I thought that was a hidden difference in the game.
Another game where you win the stat line on the glass, 39-37, you outboarded Missouri. Has that just been something that you've been coaching? Because it seems like the last couple of weeks there's been a concerted effort there, or have you just told your team, we have got to get better on the glass night in, night out?
Well, I've made no bones about this. I've told them, I said, whenever our last game is, the reason we're going to get beat is because we just get annihilated on the glass.
Mm-hmm.
That's when our season ends in the NCAA tournament now. But when our season ends, we're just going to get annihilated on the glass. That's how it's going to end. Period. End of discussion. And so, we've tried to get better. We've tried to improve. I think we have a little bit more concerted effort. We have a few less breakdowns of guys watching, guys leaking out. We still have way too much of it. It's just something we got to have 5 guys in there to rebound the ball. But I thought getting Tillman in foul trouble helped with that. He's the second best offensive rebounder in the SEC. He gets 3 offensive rebounds himself a game. He has a 14% offensive rebound rate, which is absolutely tremendous. Kobe Brown really hurt us early in the game. He came in with an 8% offensive rebounding rate on the game. So, we did a nice job getting those guys in foul trouble, which gave us a shot on the glass.
How important is it, or do you stress the double bye? I mean, I know that gives you a little bit of a break and a little longer time to prepare. How much of an emphasis is there on that?
Huge. We talked about that from the beginning of the year. We were off yesterday. We got massages. We got COVID testing and treatment. Today we're off. We're going to get treatment. We got to do COVID testing again, but it's huge. You need the rest. We need some time off. Our guys are banged up, man. Cam Thomas had 29. Shoot, we didn't even know if he was going to play.
Wow.
Going, his ankle's still a little bit messed up, and he was in there getting treatment twice yesterday, and so he'll get treatment today. He'll be fine. He's an absolute warrior, and he's played every game this year, and there's been 3 or 4 of them. Most guys wouldn't have played. He's a warrior, and he'll play. But we need some time to get rested up, and we don't play till late Friday night, and so it gives us plenty of time. We need some time to work on ourselves. We need to work on some late game situations. I was happy we got a 6-minute game in at Missouri. Obviously, we won it, so it makes it better. But a lot of our SEC games, I think before that, we'd won almost all of our SEC games, by double digits. So it was nice to get some work in the 6-minute game and be able to work on that. And I thought our guys performed well on that. So we got a lot of good work out of all that, but we need to work on ourselves this week. We can still work on 6-minute game. We've got to work on finishing the first half still. That's an issue for us. Crept up a little bit again at Missouri. And so there's a lot of things we need to work on ourselves, and then we'll get ready for Ole Miss or South Carolina starting on Thursday. You
were 16-1 when Darius Days scores in double figures. He had 12 points and 9 boards on Saturday. What's the correlation there? Why the success rate?
Well, one, he stretches the floor. When he's making shots, he stretches the floor, which opens up everything for our other guys. He's our best rebounder. So, when he's in there, we have a much better chance to rebound and be effective on the glass. He plays extremely hard. He gets loose balls. He'll dive on the floor. He does a lot of dirty work, a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet. So when he's making shots, he's less likely to foul, and he's more likely to be in the game. And when he's making shots, he's playing confidently, and he's doing all those other little things that contribute to us winning.
Cam Thomas, 29 on Saturday, Coach. It seems like every time you watch an SEC basketball game or anything that's happened on the SEC network, they're debating him and Moody on who's going to be the player of the year. He was 9 of 13 from the field on Saturday, 10 of 12 from the free throw line. He had 29 for you, and it's his 10th consecutive game of 20 or more. When you recruited him, is this what you saw?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been everything. He's been everything we thought he'd be. He's just been phenomenal for us. So consistent. Like you said, 10th game over 20 points, 10th straight game over 20 points. He's had 13 or 14 games where he scored 25 or more points. I mean, just incredible, the consistency. And then particularly this past game, the efficiency that he did it with. I mean, some of the shots he hit, you can't guard. I mean, there's no defense for him. And Drew Smith, 12 for Missouri, he'll be first team all SEC defense. He's as good a defender as there is in the SEC. And, sometimes he just looked at Coach Martin and was like, what do you want me to do? I mean, there's not a lot you can do on some of his shots. They're just unguardable. He does a great job getting to the free throw line again. I think he's second in the country in free throws attempted. So he does a great job of getting to the free throw line and getting some free points there. But I mean, that step back three he hit to put us up 4. That's about
That nasty.
Had the bench going nuts, Coach.
I mean, that thing was dirty.
We had practice all the time, but that's about as good as it gets in terms of a shot.
How do you prepare for this week? How do you scout this week where you play the winner either or, South Carolina or Ole Miss, and they play Thursday night, you got to play them on Friday. What's the week ahead look like?
Well, typically, today, like I said, we're off. Tomorrow we'll do some individual work and we'll work on some late game situations and put in just a couple more play packages that we'll want to use in the SEC tournament. And then Wednesday we'll work on ourselves and fly up there, and Thursday we'll kind of turn our attention to those guys. What you try to do is find some commonalities, some common actions. They both like to throw the ball in the post, whether it's to Romello White or LeCue or whoever South Carolina's got. So you find some common actions, try to guard that, and then you'll prepare a little bit for both, so that you've got some things in, just some things that would work against either, and then also some specialty things that each one of them do that give us particular issues that we would need to work against. And then we'll kind of put that in on Thursday, and then Friday in a walkthrough and shoot around whoever we're playing. We'll go back through particularly the stuff that they do that's going to give us issues. For instance, against South Carolina, you can't enter the ball you can't run any of your plays where the ball has to enter to the wing, and so you've got to change a little bit about what you do against Mississippi. You've got to work against the 1-3-1. You've got to work against the 2-3. You've got to work against a bunch of different zones. Luckily, South Carolina's playing a little bit more zone now too, so we'll get some zone work in this week. So we're ready for that from both those teams.
Your special teams has looked magnificent over the last couple of weeks. You had a big basket coming out of a timeout off of a side out on Saturday that caught Missouri sleeping. What's the emphasis you put on that part of the game at this part of the season?
Yeah, Watford asked me after. He said, "Where the heck do you have that?"
It was beautiful.
I've been all year. I've been waiting for you to get in a position where we could use it. Where'd you pull that out of? I said, "I'm saving that, man." No, I mean, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, the game's won in the margins here. I mean, winning's done in the margins when you get into margins. It's all about the margins. It's 4 to 6 points. It's two-handed rebounds. It's baseline out of bounds. It's sideline out of bounds. It's corner out of bounds. It's how you defend. We got caught sleeping and fouled on baseline out of bounds. We've been great in baseline out of bounds all year. We're giving up 0.54 points of possession, which is basically nothing. We're giving up like 5 baskets on baseline out of bounds all year, which is really, really good. But we can't rest. You can't relax. You got to be first team ready. And so that's what we'll spend the vast majority of tomorrow going over: baseline, sideline, full court, how to get the ball inbounds late in the game, free throw situations. We've kind of left some points on the free throw line. We're kind of getting back because our transition defense has been so poor. We don't really put anybody on the line so we can get back in transition on free throw situations. But we need to get back to working on our free throw offense, our free throw X. We've gotten a couple extra possessions on that with Days and with LeBlanc and with Hyatt. And so we need to get back to working on that because that could be an extra possession that helps us win a game. So there's a lot of little things like that we're going to hone in on tomorrow. We're going to spend hour and 15 minutes going through every possible situation you could think of.
Nobody has done it better over the last 3 years than LSU basketball in the regular season in the SEC. You guys have won more games than anybody in the conference over that stretch, 39-14. I know you won't talk about this a lot, but you are one of the best coaches in college basketball, and you're about to see March for the first time. How do you feel about that?
Well, first off, I'm proud of Javante and Days and Hyatt. That says a lot. And I know it hadn't always been smooth, but to win more games than anybody else in this league, that's what we set out to do when we got here. And there's still another level or two that we can reach. We're not where we want to be, but we're a long way from where we were, and we're in a very 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 good spot. And we're excited about March. We're excited about getting the opportunity in Nashville at the SEC tournament. Like I told our guys, it's kind of the next frontier for us. We've done, we've knocked off a lot of the bad stuff on the list. We've won the SEC. We've been the winningest program. We've gotten to be very, very consistent. This would be our third straight NCAA tournament. Like we first time in 30 years or whatnot. Like we've done a lot of good things. The last frontier is for us to conquer this SEC tournament. We haven't played well there. We haven't won a game there in 4 or 5 years. We hadn't been to the championship in like 30 years, and we won the thing one time in 1980. I mean, it's embarrassing when you look at our history in the tournament. And so this is kind of the last frontier, the last first really that we have for a while within the SEC. And so this is an important thing for our program. It's important for our team, and we're going to be locked in, and we're going to be ready to go when we get to Nashville Wednesday night.
I know you like your players playing with an edge, your team playing with an edge. You could see your frustration when Watford was whistled for his latest technical. What are those conversations like with you and your vet?
Well, I'll tell you what, this one was a lot different. This one wasn't talking or anything. This one was because he locked arms with the guy after the play and kind of pushed off. I thought he was talking. That's why I was so mad. But no, this one was just a basketball play.
Yeah.
And those technicals that you can live with. I told Watford after the official explained it to me. I said, no harm, there's nothing wrong with that. You pick up one of those a year. That's a good thing. It means he was in there scrambling for rebounds, trying to do what he does. So there was no talking or nothing to that. That was a lot different than some of the other technicals we've gotten this year.
Best time of the year in sports right now, man. Go get them. Boot up as we are looking forward to an exciting week in Nashville. Thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely, thanks. It's always good to have a dog in the hunt when
let's go.
All
right,
have a good March.
Yes, sir.
It, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
There he is, Coach Will Wade, checking in with us this morning as he and his crew get set for a trip here to Nashville as LSU will be taking on the winner of Ole Miss and South Carolina. That game will be late Thursday night, as you heard Coach Wade there talking about some of the strategy that they will be incorporating to scout on Friday. Our next guest is a little early. I was hoping that would happen. 1 second there before you get masked up. We're going to take a little break here, and I'll explain what's going on. Tim Johnson was set to be here at 8 a.m. this morning. Tim is a longtime friend, very successful businessman here in South Louisiana. But for today's show, he is. That's right.
Going on.
That's right. Here at the undisclosed location, they got guard dogs, boys. But as I have said, for as long as I have a platform and able to speak to the public, specifically on October 10th and March 8th, which is Don Redden's birthday, and then today is the anniversary of his death in 1988. For whatever reason, Don Redden took very much of a liking to me, and during that time, Tim Johnson was his roommate. And those guys were very successful basketball stars in our state. Of course, Redden was the face of the 86 LSU Final Four team. He was the captain of that squad. He came out of Ruston, Louisiana. But we always tell stories about him on March 8th, and we always talk about his life, his legacy, his family. And Johnson is as good of a resource to do that than anybody. So he was going to be here at 8 o'clock, but I'm glad he's a little bit early because we can spend some more time doing that. We're going to talk to Darnell Lazar coming up here at 8:30 this morning, as Darnell is with the New Orleans Pelicans, and we'll talk to Darnell about the development of that roster, specifically Zion Williamson here in year 2 of Zion. But you know, what does the second half stretch look like for New Orleans? So when we come back, we will be joined by a special guest, Tim Johnson, here at the undisclosed location. We can talk some hoops and business, but we'll talk mainly about the life and times of Don Redden, who passed away so suddenly, I believe 32 years ago today, 33 years ago today, as he was just 23 years old on that morning that he passed away in South Downs, in a South Downs neighborhood here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tim Johnson, who is going to sit in with us next. We will remember some of those times next when we come back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, that is brought to you daily by Edward Jones. Remember, get in touch with my good friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones, as he is in Magnolia Square over there in central Louisiana. His phone number is 261-8262. That's 225-261-8262. As you can get in touch with Daniel Newman. I rolled over my 401k to Newman. It was very easy to start up the business relationship with Daniel Newman. But I've urged you, if you're working at the plants, if you're working at Exxon, Dow, BASF, and you've got questions about your financial future, whether your term is coming to an end at the plant and you don't know what's going on with your 401k, your Social Security, or any questions that you may have about your finances, Daniel Newman can answer those. He can answer those very clearly. There's examples and lists of examples a long way over at Daniel Newman's Edward Jones office of people who he has helped out online. You can email him at daniel.newman, Newman, at edwardjones.com. Tim Johnson coming up next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers, all over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. Can you be assured that the air and surfaces in your home are clean, sanitized, and safe for you and your entire family? You can now by logging on to All right, welcome back into the Jordy Culotta Show daily, presented by Go Chevrolet. Make sure and stop in and check out my friends Lee Carney, Nick Richard, the crew down in LaPlace, Louisiana. Welcome into the undisclosed location. Let us not disrespect this successful businessman much longer. Go ahead and drop that, Tim Johnson. Here at the UDL, you are sworn to secrecy. We appreciate your signature.
I have no idea where I am.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We appreciate the horse for bringing you in. Good to see young Nicky over here too. As it is a beautiful morning here in South Louisiana. Welcome all the listeners to the Jordy Culotta Show. Appreciate the interaction. Numbers looking good on YouTube, boys.
Oh, we're back, boys. We're back.
Numbers looking good on YouTube.
Yeah.
Speaking about good-looking numbers, hit the 20,000 download mark on our podcast yesterday afternoon. Shout out to you, the listeners.
Thank you.
Shout out to RMB Builders, as you have found us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you check out your podcast. We are there. We appreciate the subscriptions. We appreciate you being and listening out there. And don't forget RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, who bring you our podcast every single day.
Hope they're happy.
It's always cool to welcome Tim Johnson onto our platform. Tim is I told the story coming in. I stood in Tim's wedding when I was young. I was about 11 years old at the time, and that was all because of a relationship that had started with my dad, who was at the time a Catholic school referee, a Catholic school league referee, which I do now, and have been doing for the better part of a decade. And at that time, Tim Johnson and Don Redden, the former LSU basketball player, were St. George coaches. And for whatever reason, I took a liking to them. They took a liking to me, and we ended up kind of spending a lot of time together. And basketball was the backbone of that relationship, but it was always just kind of traveling and hanging out, and there was always a group of people around us. And our friend Don Redden died on March 8th, 1988, which is 33 years ago today. A lot of you out there will recognize Redden's name and will recognize his face as the face of the 1986 Final Four LSU basketball team. But he was Tim Johnson's best friend and college roommate. And it is great to talk to him this morning. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, buddy. Listen, congratulations on the success of what you're doing. We try to tune in every day if we can, and you're doing great things. And I think this is going to take you good places. I
always appreciate to hear the words of support and having your support. You know how much that means to me. As Tim has been a mentor, a friend, a father figure, a brother, a lot of things to me at times during my life. But explain to our listeners your relationship from day one with Don Redden.
Yeah, so our relationship went back to the days that we were in high school together. I think the first time we ever competed against each other, our teams never played. You know, Don was at Ouachita up in Monroe in North Louisiana. I was at little B-class Pine Prairie in Evangeline Parish, sort of in the middle of the state. So our teams never played each other, but we competed against each other in basketball camps over the years. That's where we first met. And, our sophomore year, our junior year, and then got to know each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then both of us, after our senior year in high school, 1982, were selected to play in the coaches' All-Star game, the state All-Star game that still goes on. And as fate would have it, we ended up being roommates, and we were in Lafayette for a week preparing for the game, 2-a-days basically in basketball. We reported on Sunday. The game was on Saturday afternoon, so we spent a week together. Don ended up messing up his ankle pretty significantly before the game and didn't play in the All-Star game. But our friendship had been built at that point. We'd spent a week together there, and after we had known each other. And then he went on to play at LSU. I went up and played at LSU at Alexandria for 2 years, and then came back to Baton Rouge to finish my degree. We got an apartment together, and that's how we got started. And he was a unique individual. There was not a more popular athlete in Louisiana, certainly not in Baton Rouge at the time.
Is this 86?
This was going back to about 85. So we had lived together for a year or so.
So his junior year.
Yeah, his junior year. And then his senior year.
When did he become the basket? Because he never really was he just kind of was that guy that you loved on the team.
Yeah. Well, he played a lot, even going back to his freshman year. Became a starter, some during his sophomore year, certainly full-time as a junior. And then he had that great run as a senior when they went all the way to the Final Four. But he was a shooter. But he was just, at the time, LSU football wasn't very good.
Right.
It was just starting to come back, if you think about it, when they brought Arnsparger in that group. But he was arguably the most popular athlete on that campus and in this city for a long, long time. And then certainly that Final Four run when he ended up being the MVP of the Southeast Regional and played so well, leading them into the Final Four, just kind of solidified his position.
86 had to be a cool time in Baton Rouge to be a sports fan, right? That's the first year that Bertman goes, that 86 LSU with Papa John and them, where they had a lot of cool personalities on that team. The basketball team with Dale Brown goes to the Final Four, and did the football team go to the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl?
It was one of those. I don't remember. I don't recall.
But just three very successful sporting years.
Well, and that run that this team made in 85, 86, I went back and looked at it last night because I wanted to make sure that I had my statistics right. But they won their first 10 games that year. They were 10-0. And then they got some sort of flu epidemic or I think it was even maybe a chicken pox epidemic that hit them. And they
kind of like a mini pandemic.
Yeah, it really was. And they got a whole bunch of their players out and got into conference play and went 9-9. Lost to Kentucky twice. Lost to Kentucky again in the SEC tournament. So they were 0-3 against Kentucky when they finally met them in the regional finals. And, of course, no one thought they had a chance to beat them for a chance to go to the Final Four, but they did.
Right.
Fourth time was the charm.
And that was so cool back then that the tournament games were played on campus.
Well, that was interesting. So the first two rounds were played in Baton Rouge. It wasn't necessarily Baton Rouge would have hosted that regardless
whether or not LSU was in it. Okay.
But it just happened to be a wonderful scenario that LSU got to be at home as an 11 seed.
Wow.
As an 11 seed.
So that Anthony Carter shot over Memphis. Anthony Wilson, I'm sorry, over Memphis. That was in the round of 32, right?
Well, so they opened against Purdue and Gene Cady. And Purdue, what's that?
And Cady and Brown didn't like each other, right?
And Cady was not happy about having to play in Baton Rouge. And he was certainly not happy about having to play in Baton Rouge after they lost. And, of course, that's one of the things that has changed the fact that, those games won't be played on individual campuses now. But beat Purdue, huge upset, came back and beat Memphis, huge upset to take them to the round of 16. And then they went up against the Georgia Tech team that was just loaded. In the Southeast Regional that year, Kentucky was the number 1 seed, Georgia Tech was the number 2 seed. LSU beat them both to go to the Final Four.
Wow. And then Redden.
Yeah.
He destroyed Georgia Tech.
27 against them, and 27 and I think 8 rebounds or something like that. But, yeah, he was a really good night. Derek Taylor played really well in that game, as I recall. Derek Taylor was, I think, one of the most underrated players that's ever come through LSU. Just a great, great point guard, could score. He was a pass-first guy, but could score when he needed to, get in the lane and do good things. And then you had John Williams, who was arguably the number one recruit in the country and out of California.
Out of Compton,
California. And Dale convinced him, we don't want to know how, but Dale convinced him to come and
he got
play
him here.
Got him here.
He got him
No
here.
worries there.
That's right.
And, he was.
Come on, have a good time.
That's right. Everybody's All-American. And then you had Anthony Wilson on that team, a young Ricky Blanton on that team as a real contributor. Nikita Wilson was on that team. So they had some real talent. But because they had gone 9-9 in the conference, they ended up being an 11 seed. In fact, at 9-9 in the conference, you could argue that they were fortunate to have gotten into the tournament.
Yeah. That Georgia Tech team had Mark Price and John Sally.
Mark Price, John Sally, a guy by the name of Bruce Dalrymple, who looked like a football linebacker, about 6'5", 240.
And that's who Redden chopped up, right?
Real athletic. He was their primary defender. And I've told you this story before, but for a year after that game, I'd come back to the apartment and Don would be sitting on the floor with the VCR going, and he'd say, "Watch me wear Bruce Dalrymple out. Come here, Don. I've seen it 100 times, buddy. No, come on.
Like Billy Packer.
yeah. I've seen it 100 times. But no, man, come here. Watch this one.
I've asked you this. I've asked you this in confidence. I've asked you this in public, and now I ask you this on a public platform. What was it about Redden that everybody that I talk to now, because I was so young at the time, I didn't know what I was experiencing, and now going back and just talking to people that knew him, whether it's Debbie Orso or people around my family, my dad, my uncle. I know it's easier said than done in post life when people speak of you, but nobody seemed to say anything bad about Redden or really not, genuinely like him. Right. I mean, it really was. And then to think about my relationship with him was, 8-9 years old. And I really thought about it when I was like 23 and 24, his age, and thinking what he went out of his way to do for me that just didn't have to happen. I mean, he didn't have to do that stuff. Take me to basketball games, make sure I was fed, make sure I was, just kind of doing cool stuff at a time where he saw my parents were getting divorced. And he just, I don't know, man.
You used the word genuine. They genuinely liked him, and they genuinely liked him because he was so genuine. That was the mark of Redden. Look, he was, as I mentioned, he was as big a star in this town as there was. We'd go to the mall, and people would flock to him. Kids would flock to him, and he'd sign autographs, and it never bothered him. He was, there was a lot of country in Redden.
He's from the country, right?
Well, and he grew up in Monroe, just outside of Monroe, but he was just a genuine guy, and people were attracted to that. Look, man, he was also a big, strapping, good-looking fella. Our phone rang at all hours.
Sure.
There'd be girls calling him 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just crazy. But he just was a kind, genuine human being. I can remember, him going out of the way to do things for me, and I thought, that's what a real friend does. And he taught me a lot about friendship, quite frankly, because it was completely selfless. There was never a point in a relationship with Don Redden that it was ever about him. It was all about his friends and about others and what he could do for others. And when you've got a guy that reaches that level of notoriety in a town like this, where everyone knows who he is and everyone recognizes him, and they go on that run in '86 and he comes back home, and I'll tell you about his NBA career and somehow interesting that is. They were attracted to him because there was such a realness about him and a genuine, good human being.
Yeah. Tim Johnson joining us here at the undisclosed location, remembering Don Redden, who passed away 33 years ago today, March 8th, 1988. Take me back to that morning. I read some of Joe Macaluso's advocate articles that came out the day after that, and in successive days that just, you could tell him and Macaluso were very, very tight. But the overwhelming word that I would use than just reading back the media, and I recall being at the funeral as a young kid, is just shock.
Yeah. Well, before I talk about that day, I want to take you back a little bit to set the stage for that day because it was interesting. So Don finishes that run at LSU in '86, and gets drafted in the 3rd round by the Denver Nuggets. 3rd round. Back then, the NBA draft was 6 or 7 rounds. He goes in the 3rd round, goes to camp with Denver, and is the last guy cut. And so, has a pretty good run there. They liked him. He goes and plays in Switzerland for a season overseas, comes back and gets signed by the San Antonio Spurs and goes to camp with San Antonio the next year, and he's the last guy cut. Well, he comes back, and he makes the decision that, his basketball career is over. But what was interesting, Jordy, is that when he was preparing to go to camp with Denver, and then when he came back, got ready to go to camp with San Antonio, we were still living together, still had the apartment together. And we'd go meet at LSU Assembly Center, and we'd go downstairs in what was the practice gym, the dungeon, and we'd work out together, and I'd help him, and we'd run, and we'd play these brutal games of one-on-one. I didn't win many, but every now and then I'd get one in, but he just was such a great player. But I'd help to push him. And I can remember one particular occasion when we had been down there for about an hour and a half, just going out after each other pretty hard, and we were running and lifting and doing all kind of things. And we finished a game on one-on-one, and he turned and he said, I'm going to sit down for a minute. And I can remember taking the basketball and throwing it at him and calling him a lazy SOB and saying, look, I want this for you more than you seem to want it for you. And he said, I just need to take a blow. And after he had the heart issue and died, I looked back on that in retrospect and thought, his heart was quitting on him, because that's what ended up being the issue, that he had a defective heart valve from birth. So going back to that day, he had just gotten a new job. He was going to work as a financial planner with
Georgetown.
With Town Agency. He was all excited about it.
Yeah. I remember the office. It was on the corner of Perkins and right next to the Spectrum, right across the street from Olympia Stadium.
Well, he was less than a week into that new job, and of course, Debbie Orso at the time was his girlfriend. He was over at Debbie's, and I had just started dating my wife, Kelly, who, we've been married for almost 31 years now, and she was over at my apartment, Don and I's apartment. Don was at Debbie's, and he called me, and he said, hey, man, come over. He said, I want to tell you about what's going on. Why don't you and Kelly come over? We'll eat a sandwich or something. We'll talk. And I said, man, I got 2 midterms in the morning. I got to be at work at 6 a.m. on campus. I'm exhausted. I got to study. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, about an hour and a half later, he calls back. Come on, man. That's the way Don was. Come on, man. Come over here. Let's visit. I want to tell you about my job. Don, I'm exhausted, man. I'll see you. I got to get up early. I got 2 tests. I'll see you tomorrow. So I get up the next morning, I go to work, then I go about 8 o'clock, 7:30, I go to the library to study. And I realized that I didn't have some of the material that I needed to study for this midterm that I had later in the day. So I run back out, jump in my car, run back to the apartment, and when I walk in the door of the apartment, the phone's ringing. And it's the secretary at the agency where he worked. And they said, has anybody called you? And I said, no. And she said, you need to get to Baton Rouge General right away. Don's had a heart attack. And I said, what? She said, yeah, Don's had a heart attack. So I remember jumping in the car and driving as fast as I could to Baton Rouge General. And I think I had an LSU sweatshirt on or something like that. And I walk in and some orderly sees me, and I guess he sees the panic on my face. And I'm thinking, well, it's just some minor thing. He's probably fine. But I turn the corner, get to the end of the hall, down to the emergency room, and Debbie Orso standing there. And I said, Debbie, what happened? And I'll never forget what she said and how she said it. She just looked at me and she said, Tim, he's dead. And that's, so that's how your world hits, right? And I see the emotion in your face about it. And, to this day, one of the most difficult deaths I've ever dealt with in my life, one of the most difficult situations I've ever dealt with in my life. And I just collapsed. And, but that's what happened that day. And I mean, it just brought this town to a screeching halt.
I remember the Vanderbilt game. Then was it the next day?
No, it was after the funeral. It was after the funeral. Right? Yeah, it was the day after the funeral.
And I remember Ricky Blanton sprinting up the stairs, giving Mr. Redden the game ball.
Exactly.
And my grandfather at the time was sitting right next to me, and I remember it was the first time I ever heard him break down.
Yeah. But that's the impact he had on people, man. That's the kind of impact he had on me. He had on my mom and dad fell in love with him. We used to go back to a little country town where I grew up out in the woods, and he'd come spend the weekend. In fact, there were times where he went to spend weekends. One time he went to spend the weekend with my mom and dad when I couldn't go, but he just wanted to get away. And and so my mom and dad were in love with him. I mean, it was difficult for them. And so just a traumatic moment for this town and its sports figures.
I just remember Dale Brown giving the eulogy, and it was you, me, Redden, and that basketball team that featured guys like Danny Foley, who was a very successful guy here in town now.
Tim Lanier.
Tim Lanier was on that team.
Catcher. Drew Hart, who's a very successful
the head coach at Bishop Sullivan,
St.
was
Michael,
on that team. But Redden brought us into the locker room on March 4th, LSU, with Jose Vargas, and that team played Auburn for, I believe, a piece of the SEC title.
That's right.
And Dale Brown with us in the room. It was the first time I'd ever gone into the LSU basketball locker room, and it was on game day. And we're sitting in the locker room as the team is getting like dressed and ready to go. And Brown asked Don to address the squad pregame. And Dale Brown talked about asking him to do that within his eulogy 5 days later. Which was just an incredible.
Well, I will tell you that group of kids that we coached. He coached the 7th grade at St. George that year. I coached the 8th grade. I was his assistant on the 7th grade team. He was my assistant on the 8th grade team. So we had these, 25 kids between those two teams. And you mentioned some of the names of some of the people. Ricky Hernandez, who's a very successful coach and teacher in a Catholic school over in Houston now. But those kids were just devastated by that. And I got letters from them and have stayed in touch with a lot of them over the years. Just an event. The season had ended. We had the party, the year-end party for the two teams on Saturday, and he died on Tuesday.
That's right.
Yep.
We still have pictures from that day.
Sure do.
Tim Johnson is here. I always appreciate you coming out for this day and sharing stories and just reliving, which was a very, like you said, traumatic and depressing time for a lot of people in this city. How is he remembered?
Yeah.
For me, he's a god to me.
Yeah.
What is for your generation? What's his legacy?
Well, personally, I just not only was he my friend, my best friend at the time, and of course Ricky Blanton was with us a lot, and we did a lot of things together.
Did Ricky date Roxanne?
Roxana Redden, Don's younger sister, who also played basketball at LSU
under Sue Gunner.
Right. But Ricky Nebosha Bukamarovich, you'll remember that name. Nebosha hung out with us a lot. But he wasn't just my friend. I mean, I looked up to him the same way everybody else did. He was. But I had the unique privilege, I guess, to have the relationship with him that I did and have the friendship. I mean, he was like a brother to me. He really was. And so I think he's remembered as the kind of hero, star that you want to look up to, right? Yeah. I mean, everybody's done things they're not proud of, I'm sure, and I'm sure Don did too, but he just had this image of the kind of guy you wanted. And then when you got to know him and you saw how real it was and how genuine he was and how his primary concern was always for his friends and his family and others before it was for him, then, you the kind of guy you wanted to have a relationship with.
How crazy is it on him and Maravich, the timeline of what they passed away? Was it within like 5 weeks?
Yeah, it wasn't much. And in fact, they're buried next to each other at Ravenhurst out on Old Jefferson.
Wow.
Don, like a lot of us who were playing basketball in the late 70s and early 80s, Maravich was our idol.
Sure.
Of course, Maravich was my idol. He was Don's idol. And Don has the great privilege. That's why Don wore 44, because of Pete. And so, they're buried. The irony of that is that they're buried right next to each other.
It is. I know there's no way to transition, but I always appreciate remembering Don, and you have now become a very successful consultant within our area.
We argue the very successful part, but the consultant is not true.
No, nobody else would. That would be you and your humility. But I know that a lot of your stuff is always kind of tied back to LSU and the passion that people have for LSU. What did you make of what had come out over the weekend around the university?
Well, you and I talked a little bit about this before we started today while I was blindfolded. And
Thank you for playing along.
Yeah. I thought a lot about that since that report came out on Friday. And the best word I can use to describe it, Jordy, is just disappointing all around. I mean, certainly, first and foremost, it's disappointing for anyone who was a victim of any of that, right? But then you think about the disappointment in Coach Miles. Look, you mentioned it. I said it to someone this morning early at my cleaners. We were talking, some guy brought it up, and I said, look, the rumors were rampant when the guy was here that he was a womanizer, but nobody thought it was with college-age students, right? You just, and maybe shame on us for playing it off for whoever it was, but there were rumors. But you just think about the breakdowns that took place. And look, good people make mistakes, sure, right? And there were a lot of good people, I think, in that athletic administration that just made mistakes, and they were critical mistakes. And my hope as an alum, as a guy who loves LSU, who loves the university first and the athletic department second, right, which is the way it should be, I think. I hope that we've learned, and I hope we can get that stuff cleaned up, because it sure is a black eye for LSU, and it was a dark day Friday when all of this came out, and so maybe the hope is that now it's all out there and that we can learn from it, that we've hit the bottom in terms of how we manage those sort of crises, and that we'll be better going forward because of it. We
talked to Will Wade before you stopped in here. His team with a big win on Saturday, huge win on Saturday, gets the 3 seed in the SEC. Final one. I know you're very busy this morning. You get the chef with you here in.
Well, actually, he's not the chef. The older son is the chef. He's this young man is a project manager for our consulting firm.
Go ahead. Good for you. Tell me about what your thoughts on LSU basketball and kind of where they are. Heading
look, if this team could have bottled the way it played on Saturday, and I was in Florida on business and got back Sunday morning, and I just got to see a little bit of it. I see the last part of the game. If we could bottle that and find a way to keep this team consistent, then I think I think they could make some sort of run. Now, whether they're good enough to get to the Elite Eight or Final Four, I don't know, but they're talented enough to win some games in the tournament. There's no question about that. My biggest concern about them is their consistency, and my second biggest concern about them, they play really well when they share the basketball. They play really well when the basketball moves. It's just too much isolation, too much I want my own shot. And if Coach Wade can get them to share the ball, and when they share the ball, they tend to defend as well. Their energy level is different. They're athletic enough to defend. They're talented enough to defend. They got to share the ball, and they got to defend. And when they do that, look, who knows? They're as good as anybody in this conference, certainly, right?
TJC Consulting?
TJC Group. Yep. We look, a lot of people call what we do public affairs or governmental affairs. We call it stakeholder engagement. We help our clients connect to their communities, to the people that live around them, to their governmental officials, their elected officials. And we think it's, we need to help them build knowledge, understanding, and trust. Once you've gotten to the point where you've built trust, that gives you goodwill. That allows you to do the things you need to do to make a profit and run your business.
As solid as they make them. Tim Johnson, a great friend of mine, a great resource, a great mentor for me, for everything that we've got going on, and a great storyteller as he was here this morning, reliving some of the memories of his college roommate and best friend, and Don Redden, who passed away 33 years ago this morning on a beautiful South Louisiana morning here in 2021, as we celebrate the life and times of Don Redden, always here on the Jordy Culotta Show. It's great to see you. Thank you. I love you, man.
Love you too, brother. And listen, I'm grateful that you always remember too.
Absolutely. We'll never forget it. We'll never forget what he did and the impact that he had on me. Darnell Lazare from the New Orleans Pelicans will be here in minutes. We'll talk about the development of Zion Williamson, where the Pelicans are from a mental state going in to the second half of the season. Zion last night with his all-star debut, but we'll also talk some more names with Lazare as he stops here in a couple of minutes to talk some NBA and the Pelicans in the second half of the season. You're listening to the Jordy Culotta Show, which is daily brought to you by Advanta Clean. Remember, Advanta Clean is online at ADVANTA AdvanaClean.com. Water, fire, mold. You see water on the carpet, you feel it on the carpet, you smell fire or smoke, or you see mold around, get in touch with Bradley Lynch over at AdvanaClean. He will take the process right into his hands. He works directly with the insurance company. It's going to be a bad phone call and a bad day when you get in touch with AdvanaClean because you got issues going on at your home. But the good news is that Lynch and AdvanaClean can take it from there. One call, that's it. Get online at AdvanaClean.com. Bradley Lynch over at AdvanaClean. When we come back, we'll talk Pelicans, NBA with Darnell Lazar.
Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. In your home are clean, sanitized, and safe for you and your entire family? You can now by logging on to Valera.com/Jordy Culotta, where you, your home, your office, your family can be protected 24/7 with active pure technology. This NASA-based science has proven 99.9% reduction of airborne SARS-2 and COVID-19 virus in just 3 minutes. Log on now to Valera.com/Jordy Culotta. It's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers, all over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. All right, welcome back into the Jordy Culotta Show presented by Go Chevrolet. Remember, on GoChevrolet.com, you can get to them, GEAUX Chevrolet.com, located in LaPlace, Louisiana. Stop in and see Nick Richard and Lee Carney. Great stuff with Tim Johnson there, as TJ is a great friend and somebody who has been a mentor, a friend, a brother, a dad, all types of relationships, as remembering Don Redden here on this March 8th. I believe it was a Tuesday morning. I'm telling you, it is. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember my dad checked me out of school. Mike and I were at St. Jude together. Michael Thompson and I, who's on our staff. But I was sitting in St. Jude in a third grade classroom,
And I remember my name got called over the intercom to check out. I'm talking early, man. I mean, yeah, he passed away, I believe, at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I had gone to school and had been there for probably about an hour when over the intercom somebody said Jordy Culotta to the office to check out. I mean,
I'm sure that was old hat for you,
sprinting, bro. Yeah. Right? I mean, like sprinting to the office trying to get there. I couldn't imagine how good of the news was that I was leaving school at 9 in the morning. And even so young, I can remember today turning the corner and just seeing my dad's body language and the color in his face. Like nothing is good that I'm about to tell you. And we were walking to the car. Like, I remember this. I was in St. Jude's parking lot, big, widespread cement parking lot. Nobody, it was a vacant parking lot where we used to play in front of the gym. They would keep it open right there, and then all the cars would park, in front of the church, right? And we were in that open parking lot, and he wasn't saying anything. Like, why? I'm like, what's going on?
No,
man?
You're like, am I in trouble, dude?
What's
What did
up?
I do?
Why are we here? Why am I leaving school? And he looked at me and he could not finish the sentence and he started crying and said that, like, Don Redden, something to relay it to a youngster, like, is not going to be with us anymore, not going to be here anymore. And I knew what he was I knew what he was saying, and it'll live forever. And like Tim Johnson said, man, as long as I have the platform, as long as I have the ability to remember Redden and bring that to the public, we will do that. So I appreciate Tim for stopping by. If you are looking for if you're looking for a loan, if you're looking for mortgage, and you need to get into a creative mortgage, you're looking to refi your house, if you're looking to refinance, if you want to buy an investment property, if you want to buy a condominium, or if you're looking to buy a new home, remember Angel Oak Mortgage. Now, I'm now a part of the team over there with Lee Gilly and Matt Lanassa, and we've got very cool and creative ways to get you into the house of your dreams, the home of your dreams, the investment property. If you are self-employed, you can get in touch with us about ways to get into your new home over at Angel Oak Mortgage. You can just email me, Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com, and we'll take care of that as we will get you in touch with a very experienced team over there at Angel Oak, whether it's Lanassa or Gilly and the crew over there. There is a team of veterans, very experienced within the field, ready to get you into your house, your dream home, your condominium, your investment property. And that can all start this morning by getting in touch with me over at Jordy at JordyCulottaShow.com. All right, let's get in touch with Darnell Lazar here, as Lazar is now a part of the New Orleans Pelicans, and we will talk to him about the second half of the season. Get his thoughts on last night's All-Star game as well.
Hello,
Coach.
Hey, what's going on?
You doing good? We're live, man. We're live. Sorry about that. You doing okay?
Oh no, I'm doing well. How you doing?
It's great to catch up with you. The Baton Rouge legend, the former Woodlawn standout, 2006 Final Four with the LSU basketball team, and now player development and assistant coach with the New Orleans Pelicans, and has experienced a ton of success since being in the league, whether it was Memphis a couple of years ago to now where he is with New Orleans. That is a good friend of ours, Darnell Lazar, joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning, D-House. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing? I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good, man. It was crazy. I was in the stands last week watching Garrett Temple chase around J.J. Redick, and I felt like I was in Atlanta in the Georgia Dome in 2006. Can you get over that these two guys are still doing it at a high level? You were on the floor that night in that 06 game versus Duke, and to see those cats still running around at the highest level, doing it nearly 16 years later. What did you think in watching those two pros go at it?
I mean, it's just a testament to those guys' professionalism, to be honest with you. Obviously, I know Garrett very well, so I know the work that he puts in during the off season and how he takes care of his body. And having coached JJ for the last year and a half, same way, very professional, doesn't really let himself get out of shape, take care of his body, eats right. So, I'm glad to see those guys still playing, still doing what they love to do, and hopefully they have a few more years left in the tank.
I love seeing Garrett and his successful. I know you got to too. You guys are such good friends, and I believe were roommates during your days at LSU.
Darnell, can you believe on that '06 Final Four team with as much talent as you guys had? And Garrett obviously was one of the premier talents on that team, but to look up and to see that now he is the most veteran in playing pro basketball?
I mean, you know, with his versatility that he showed in college, it's kind of not surprising, to be honest with you. He was a guy who was able to adapt and play different roles throughout his tenure at LSU. And I think that helped propel him to his NBA career. Like, he's just able to adapt to what that specific team needs. And he has great leadership qualities. His intangibles are through the roof. So whenever he gets in an organization, I'm not surprised that teams love him and want to keep him around.
A lot of the social media that comes out of Zion, whether it's pictures or videos, he's working with you. You can see either you in the background or you see you around or in the drills that are going into the development of this prospect, Darnell, that I can't currently tag. I don't know if there's a comp for Zion Williamson. I don't know if there's anybody that I've seen that can catch the ball within 6 feet of the basket at an NBA level at 20 years old and be unstoppable. You are around him every single day. What am I looking at? Who is Zion Williamson, the basketball player?
I mean, like you said, it's hard to find a comp, but what he is a very explosive, very strong athlete. And what goes unnoticed is his touch around the rim, right? Mm-hmm. His ability to elevate but still maintain the focus necessary to finish through traffic and put the touch on the rim, whether he used backboard or you go straight in, is uncanny. His ability to see the opening and process what he needs to do is at a high level. And he's going to continue to get better, but, night in and night out, he continues to do things that, impresses me every time I watch him play. Yeah,
what are you guys at the pro level? Because you've seen all of the talent. You've seen all of the plays. I mean, whether it be from LeBron to any Jason Tatum on any given night. What does Zion do that shocks you guys at that level? What does he do best?
Well, his finishing, I think, was very impressive because, I mean, he's only about 6'6", 6'7", right? So his ability to finish over these 7-footers and these centers around the rim at a 60% clip or better clip is impressive. But beyond that, his ball handling ability, like when you see his size, his ability to play in pick and roll and take people off the dribble and kind of play in space. He's not your traditional power forward in the sense of you just want to run pick and rolls or just post them up throughout the course of the game. He can do those things, and he's very good at those things as well. But you can also let him lead the break. He can initiate your offense. So he's just highly versatile.
Darnell Lazar joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show, daily brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Darnell's down with the New Orleans Pelicans. How do you guys, from an executive standpoint, spend the All-Star break? It's considered time off for the players, but how about you, the administrators? What do you guys do during this time?
We still try to disconnect a little bit, maybe not open up the laptops as frequently as we do throughout the course of the season. Just try to recharge ourselves mentally and emotionally and even physically for us because, between the travel and the player development stuff, you get a little fatigued a bit. So we just want to take some time to recharge, spend some time with the family, be still for a little bit and get ready for the second half of the season.
What has been the development from your point of view of the other rookies, whether it been Kyra Lewis, the guy that you guys drafted this year, or that star-studded class that came in with Zion, with Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander? What has, from your point of view, been the development of these youngsters within the Pelicans going into another season?
Well, I would say all three of those guys, all four of those guys, if you include Zion, they come in every day with a hunger and desire to work, to want to get better and achieve the success that they're looking to achieve and the success we need them to have for us to be successful. So every day we come in and we compete. The group is highly competitive. Obviously the skill sets are a bit different, but we like to put those guys together and let them kind of work in a group, get used to playing with one another. And we just try to make things competitive. So it's a highly competitive environment. And we just want to keep those guys ready for if their number is called. Throughout the course of the season, all three of those guys, Kyra, Jackson, and Nickeil, have had opportunities to come in and help us win some games, and they've all done that. They've all impacted the game in a positive way. And they're just going to keep developing. And, sooner or later, their time on the court is going to be extended. And we just want to help those guys get ready for that when that moment comes.
Darnell, it seemed like Stan Van Gundy, who's taken over this year as the head coach, placed an emphasis, especially at his opening press conference, to the first part of what he was describing, what he wanted to implement on the defensive end. Where are you guys defensively, and how difficult is it at that level to emphasize defense night in, night out in a league that's, ultimately from the fans' perception or from this point of view, looks like it's so built around scoring?
Yeah, Stan obviously is a defensive-minded coach, and he didn't have a lot of time with the pandemic and things like that to really implement and do some of the things that we would like to do. But it's no excuse. We're still working on it daily. I think we're improving. We're trending in the right direction. We have a young team. And a lot of times when you look at the defensive side of the floor, it comes down to, some details and how you want to guard specific sets and things like that. And I think throughout the course of the season this year, we've shown some improvement. Now we just got to get more consistent and, rely on our teammates a little bit more and know that, the simple things you learn in high school, help the helper and things like that. But once we continue to improve in that direction, I think our team is really going to take off. Everybody's
been affected over the last year, right? Nobody has been out of bounds on being affected by the policies and what's been going on, whether it be with COVID-19 or anything. The weather here of late has affected people. What has it been like in an NBA organization, day in, day out, just getting these guys prepared, traveling, and going through your day-to-day operations?
You just got to adapt and adjust. Obviously with COVID going on, some teams had to postpone games or reschedule games, and you're unable to play. So pretty much day in and day out, although we do have a master schedule, you got to be able to adjust it and change it just depending on what the climate is in terms of the COVID and, the freeze and things like that. So every team is going through it. I would say the only difference between some teams versus others is some teams, that nucleus has been together longer. So it could be a little bit more seamless because they have an idea of what they want to do from a schematic standpoint as a team, and individuals have a feel for their teammates a little bit better. We are still fairly a young group. This group been together for about a year. This is the second year. It's a new coach. So there's still kind of that adjustment period going on. And I would say other than that, though, we just got to adjust and fly on the fly.
Giannis last night goes 16 of 16 from the field for an MVP performance in the All-Star game. Steph shelled out with 31 in the first round of the three-point competition. Team LeBron got a 20-point victory over KD's squad. What did you take away from the All-Star game?
Those are the best in the league, man, and there's a reason why. Just to see those guys' talent on display, it's something special to watch. I always enjoy watching the game and just seeing, how teams are going to fare. Team is going to pull out on top. Obviously, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were missing, and that could have had a different outcome on the game, but it was still fun to watch, and, hopefully those guys enjoyed it, and we'll see what happens in the second half of the season.
Feels like a LeBron kind of Michael-esque 96, 97, 98 part of his career where he's doing it a little different, but he's more effective. Darnell, I don't know. You tell me. You've been watching this league and watching LeBron for a long time. Are we seeing him at his best here in his late 30s?
I think so. The guy's 36 years old, right? And he's still playing at the level that he's playing at. His run of dominance has to be amongst the best of any athlete in any sport, in my opinion, to be able to do what he's done since, the time he walked into this league. Again, obviously, he's another one that takes care of his body at a high level. But now you just see he plays the game at a different pace. You know what I mean? He's calm. He doesn't get sped up. Obviously, his jump shot is a lot more reliable. He's posting up a little bit more. But he still does have some athleticism. So, he can still get to the rim and elevate over you. So he's definitely playing at a high level.
This LSU basketball team got a nice win on Saturday versus Missouri going into the SEC tournament. They got the third seed going into Nashville. I know that you're a long time removed from your days at LSU, but do the early days of March take you back to that special time? Because everybody in Baton Rouge and in South Louisiana loves to relive those memories, especially that weekend in Atlanta when you guys beat Duke and Texas. But does March bring you back to your college days and during this time, the tournament?
Always. I mean, it was a very fun time. Obviously, getting a chance to play collegiate ball with guys I grew up with and played AAU with even made it more special. But I think what made that year, very special for us is I don't know what the expectation was for us from outsiders. We kind of believed in ourselves. And, we look up, we had won the SEC, which was a huge accomplishment when you look back at some of the rosters that were in that conference at that time.
National champs were in the league.
Right. And then going to the SEC tournament, I think we won a game or two and then headed to March Madness and went on our run. So that was a very special time, something that, I'll always remember. And I've had a chance to watch this LSU team play a few times, and they're a special group, talented group. So, shout out to Coach Wade and my former teammate Tasman Mitchell. I see those guys down there, working and doing some things, and they have a very explosive offensive group. Like they may be more explosive than we were offensively. In the little bit I've seen those guys play, they probably have 4 or 5 guys who can get you between 10 and 15 points every night, and another group that can get you probably between 15 and 20. Excuse me. So that's going to serve those guys well. Looking back at our team, we didn't necessarily score it that easy, but we defended at a high level.
Yeah.
We were a very, very good defensive team. We had some length, some athleticism. Obviously, with Tyrus behind us, he was able to protect the rim at a supreme level. And then Glenn dominance in the paint was, amongst the best in the country. And we kind of fed off of those guys. And Daryl Mitchell was kind of our unsung hero with his leadership and his poise, his ability to make big shots. And I mean, I can go on and on with everybody that played, but, we all had some key contributors and we fit, fairly well together. So, I wish those guys luck. Hopefully they can, make a nice run, and it'll be good for the school, good for those guys. It'll be memories they can remember for a long time. So I wish them well.
My favorite game still to this day, D-House, is the trip to West Virginia in November. The double OT daggers that Daryl Mitchell threw at a Final Four team. In Pittsnoggle, Beeline, and those cats going into West Virginia that day. The day that they retired Jerry West's jersy at West Virginia. LSU goes in there with a double OT. I mean, D. Mitch with a assault rifle from the corner, man, that put that team.
What was funny about that game is we had actually lost to that team at LSU the year before.
That
was one of those home and away situations. And they came in the year before, and I think they beat us. And they were a good team that year, but they were even better the year we went and played them. And I happened to see that game as one of the ESPN Classic games a few months ago. And I didn't remember that we actually had pretty good control of that game early on. We might have went up as much as 10 points that game. But obviously they came back. It was a full house. The atmosphere was, full of energy. Like you said, that retired Jerry West's jersey, and they came roaring back. They were a team that probably shot the three as good as anyone, and they were one of the few teams back then that really emphasized the three ball. Like, it's a totally different game now than what it was when we played. But they shot the three very well, but we stuck with it, hung in there, and Daryl made some big-time shots. And that was, I think, our first signature win of the season that year, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
It was real early in the year, and then that kind of gave us a little bit of confidence in what we could do, and we just kind of took it from there.
That was a good team too. If I recall, I remember you guys going out and kind of partying with them that night in West Virginia after the game, after the win.
I think we did kind of go out in the city a little bit and see what the campus of West Virginia had to offer. But I think Mike Gansey was on that team, Pittsnoggle was on that team. I think Dior Fisher might have been the big inside. Coach Beeline's son was on that team.
Yeah.
They had a good team.
Yeah, that was a good squad, man. That was a great win that Saturday in West Virginia. That was such a fun time and such a fun team to follow. And now Darnell Lazar is head of player development and assistant coach with the New Orleans Pelicans, doing great work in the NBA and representing our town, our community, LSU, and our state in such a fantastic way. It's always great to catch up with you, D-House. Continued success, and let's do it again soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great day.
Always. There is Darnell Lazar checking in from New Orleans this morning as the second half of the season gets going with with he and the New Orleans Pelicans on Thursday night, where New Orleans will face Minnesota, the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, the number 1 pick. I always tell the story about that West Virginia trip to in November with that team, as Darnell laid out right there. It was really kind of the coming out party, kind of the first big win of that group. You knew that they had something special. I was around that team all day, every day, was with Coach Brady in his back pocket, and we were down in the bowels of the West Virginia Coliseum, and I mean the place is packed.
They're a madhouse, dude.
Madhouse. They fired the musket before the game
in the arena.
Butch Pierre is under the bench when you look over and under the bench, and he's like looking around. He thinks that they're firing at him, but we're there. We're at West Virginia, and we're sitting like in a very sterile hallway. Everybody's dressed, ready to go. We're kind of waiting to come out of the tunnel, right? And Brady is a nervous,
sweaty
wreck.
Oh my gosh,
a wreck.
Where's that Belvedere coach?
And I mean, so when he's nervous, go back. You can pull the files. I mean, when he's bitching at officials, when he's thinking in his mind, he's always tugging on his jacket, on his like this part of his jacket. That's kind of his deal. He'll walk up and down the sideline and kind of tug on his jacket. And he's down there, and we're all just kind of sitting in the chairs, and everybody's ready to go. And Daryl Mitchell's sitting right here, and I mean the whole crew: Big Baby, Tyrus, Garrett, Darnell, and Brady's just kind of walking back and forth, and he's pulling. He got sweat pouring. You can see he's just kind of thinking.
The Coliseum field, dude.
Man. I mean, they're banging they're banging their feet on top of it. Boom, boom,
Country
boom,
road,
boom, boom,
take
boom,
me
boom.
home.
I mean, it is loud down there, man. So some kid comes running down. He's probably 21 years old, 20. He's probably your age, Nick. Got a suit that he picked up last night from like J.C. Penney, bro. I mean, this thing is fitting like just real tight. He walks down there. Kid's got a little swagger to him. Walks down the steps. Hey, coach, we're gonna be about 10 minutes late on the introductions and pre-games. We're retiring a guy's jersey by the name of Jerry West. Don't know if you've ever heard of him. Kind of like laughing at him. Kind of like on the way out.
Yeah.
Brady's like picking, like kind of walking back and forth, picks up his head, looks at this guy like, I mean, he just told him that he is going to kill his firstborn. Brady looks up and says, "What the bleep did you just say? What the fuck?" And he's like, "What the bleep did you just say?" He's like, guys, kid's like, Jerry West jersey, we're gonna get the bleep out of here, kid. You don't think I know who the mother bleeping logo is? The logo of the NBA? You guys wait until today to retire that guy's jersey, and you gonna bring us up here? Get the bleep out of here. I mean, this kid is like scared shitless, man. I mean, just like, what did I walk into, bro? I mean, it was fun. It was great. Daryl Mitchell steps up, breaks the ice with a great comment. Everybody starts laughing. They run out there and get a win that, I mean, like Darnell said, I mean, there were at times where they were up like 10, 12 in the first half, and they hang on to win. Daryl Mitchell, look him up. The 2 shots he hit late in that game, he hit one at the end of regulation and at the end of overtime. The one in overtime, he is falling out of bounds in what, is labeled on the basketball floor the coffin corner. I mean, where you go to die. And he is in the coffin corner and hits a turnaround 3 for the win on the road at West Virginia against a Final Four team. Pittsnoggle is John Beilein, who was coach of those Michigan teams and went on to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers, but got ran out of there.
In Partizan basketball, people didn't seem to like that.
It was, it was a great day.
How cold blooded was D Mitch, dude? To go into that environment and just you see all that going around, you're just like, I got it. I mean, I'm good.
Not only did he hit the 2 that day, he hit that one against Texas A&M that everybody talks about. The Arkansas game that year, he hit one. But the one he will tell you about, no line, we can have him on and we'll talk to him.
That's nice to know. Yeah.
No, we can. I mean, me and D Mitch, bro, that was my guy. I mean, I would wake up and go meet D Mitch in the dungeon at 5:30 every day. We put up 800 to 1,000 shots before sunrise. But the one he will still tell you about to this day is the UConn game. The one he squared up from 12 feet, looking dead at it, wide open, and just back ironed it. That game in January that season versus the UConn squad that featured Rudy Gay and so many others on that team versus that LSU 06 squad. That was such a fun season, and it kind of culminated during this time of March. So LSU hoop feeling right going into March. If you missed it, Will Wade was here earlier today talking about the win at Missouri over the weekend, the preparation and getting ready to play either Ole Miss or South Carolina on Friday in the first round of the tournament. This will be the first. This will be the first time that Coach Will Wade is coaching his team in March. We asked him a little bit about that, so make sure and go check that out on today's podcast. It's always brought to you by RMB Builders. RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and the crew, 921-7062 is how you get in touch with them, rmb-builders.com. All right, we're excited about what's coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. So, Lloyd, explain to our listeners about what's going to happen here. We're just going to have a quick turnover of our show at 9 a.m. We will keep the audience, right? We will not
staying on this YouTube channel. We're going to unveil the beginning, the original show of the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro. So it's going to stick on this YouTube channel just so we have the rollover effect. So you don't have to go anywhere else. Stay tuned. We'll be on this same channel. In the future, she has her own YouTube channel. They put me in charge of that. I don't know why, because I have a great history with YouTube. So she's got a big leash.
I guess we just want to bleep it up.
Yeah. So thanks for that. But we're sticking on this channel for now. In the future, she'll have her own channel. But stick around after 9 a.m. It's coming straight after this. We're going to go to a commercial break. Come back. It'll be Whitney Bro in the chair.
Nice. So we're looking forward to this. Abby Alonzo, Whitney Bro, and the crew is see if they're here real quick.
They're here.
Let's bring them. Yeah. Wait, come here. We'll see if we can't get them in here before we get moving today. Remember Phil's Oyster Bar, as we talked to
party outside.
Yeah, I know.
Phil's Oyster Bar. As we talk to the crew there, we're going to sign off here and get Whitney in. We see Abby. We see Miss Karen McCord. We see the whole crew here. Whitney, jump in here for a minute as we want to preview what we got going on. Appreciate everybody for supporting this, as it has been a ton of hard work from our girl and her crew as she sits down here on International Women's Day, day one of the Gridiron Show. Man, I'm proud of you. I'm so glad that we're here. I can't tell you how enthusiastic we all are over here in watching what you guys have put together, you ladies have put together for the Gridiron Show. And today, it all coming to the forefront with the hard work and talking to our cuz, my people. Great to see you. Miss McCord, Miss Karen McCord here. We're just minutes away.
We're minutes away.
It's good to see you. I love you.
Love you too, man. I
Proud of
appreciate you
man.
for all
you,
of
man.
this, for the team's hard work. It's International Women's Day. We're going to have a great show. We've got an amazing lineup planned. Miss Karen McCord is here. We're going to honor my good friend, Carly McCord.
Amen.
Had the opportunity to visit with her yesterday. And let me tell you, I know that she's shining down on us and she's smiling. So stay tuned for the Gridiron Show. We're going to get started here at the top of the hour.
How about the story of Abby and the scholarship? Is that
crazy?
Unbelievable?
Is that
unbelievable?
crazy?
I mean, rainbows everywhere on this beautiful Monday day. It's beautiful. If you missed the podcast, check it out. R&B Builders bring it to you. Thank you to Will Wade. Thank you to Tim Johnson. Thank you to Darnell Lazar for stopping by. Stick around. It is International Women's Day. We are launching our second show here on the network, and it is the Gridiron Show, hosted by nobody else but Whitney Bro, as she will be here in a couple of minutes with a special sit down with our friend and our angel, Miss Karen McCord. Abby Alonzo will be here as she's a part of the show. It'll all be a part of the network on the YouTube show. Everything will be podcasted. We're looking forward to it. Go get them.
Let's go get
Go
it.
get them. Go get them. Jordy Culotta Show signing off. Brought to you daily by Ghost Chevrolet. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Enjoy this beautiful Monday. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers. All over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. Welcome to the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro, a weekly podcast where we celebrate the perseverance, passion, and lifestyle of women on and off the field. The Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro is a part of the CJC Media Network.
It's Monday, March 8th, International Women's Day, and you better mark your calendar. Mark this date down in history, Abby, because it's the official launch of the Gridiron Show. We're launching. It's a premiere. It's a live. We're on the Jordy Culotta Show Instagram or Facebook, YouTube, jordyculottashow.com. It's the launch of the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro. I'm your host, Whitney Bro, but guys, for short, you can call me Whit. That's the name that I prefer to go by. And I've got the best team in the business here joining me. Say hello to Abby Alonzo.
Hey guys, super excited to be here.
And the man behind the board, Mr. Lloyd Courtney.
Let's go. Excited to be here, dude. There's a lot of work in the making. It's exciting.
But we're here. Yeah. We're here. The day is here. And for those of you who haven't heard, the Gridiron Show is going to be a weekly podcast celebrating the perseverance, passion, and lifestyle of women on and off the field. Now, this isn't just going to be a football podcast. Don't worry, we're not going to have a board out and talk chalk talk all the time.
But we could.
But we could. We could if we want to.
And we
might,
will.
And we will a little bit. We're going to give you a little 101, but we're here to really celebrate and inspire and motivate through the personal stories of some amazing women that are breaking glass ceilings. We're going to feature their personal stories, how they're doing great things in their respective industries, the excitement, the competition, and the unity that brings us all together around the game of football and life. Every episode is going to feature a woman who has at least one thing in common, and that's Grit. That's right. So help us grow this thing. We need your support. We want your support. So follow us on for the Gridiron Show. You can follow us on social media at Gridiron Show on Instagram, on Twitter. We're also on Facebook with Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro and on YouTube. So subscribe to the Jordy Culotta Show channel and find the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro and subscribe to our YouTube channels. Every like, every follow, every subscribe means the world to us and to our team. So thank you so much for being here for our launch show.
And quick shout out to Bro Body. We're repping.
Yeah,
we got
looking hot.
Got some gear on.
Shout
out to them.
Dude.
Yeah, we're coming, Lloyd. We're coming. We're coming.
All the swag.
No relation to me, by the way, but it looks good, right?
Ironic, but yeah, it works. So they're going to be styling us during the off season, and Harper Kyle Boutique will be styling us during the football season. So we're set. Give them a follow at Bro Body and Shop H Kyle on Instagram.
Shout out to Bro Body, my fam up in Maryland. I made the request and they came through, so we got some more swag coming. So Lloyd, we got to get your sizes, dude, so that way we can get you all set up.
I don't look it, but I'll rock a large. You
Okay.
know, when you get up in age, just throw that large on and don't worry about it.
Well, hey man, you'll look good in Bro Body. Trust me, I'll
right.
tell you that one. Well, today's show is absolutely special, and I'm a firm believer that whenever we put good energy out in the world, it comes back to you tenfold. And we're going to give you a little bit more about Whitney and Abby, so you know a little bit more about us and these crazy girls who love the game of football and who love sports. But it's also important to us that today you get the backstory on the GritIron Show and how we got to today's launch. There's an angel, Carly McCord, that is guiding this journey. And today's show is dedicated to Carly, who we lost unexpectedly in December of 2019. Carly was the definition of grit, and her capacity to go after her dreams, it was unmatched. And I've never met a harder working woman than Carly. And I think we all knew that she was special and she was going to rule the world of sports journalism. So Carly's mom, Miss Karen, agreed to be here with us today. We're going to talk to her in just a minute. She's going to share a little bit more about Carly's story with you guys and with us, and maybe even some stories that we haven't heard before about our girl. I personally, I think on behalf of the Jordy Culotta Show team, the GritIron Show team, we want to say a big thank you, Miss Karen, to you and to your family, to Stephen Jr. and the Ensminger family for their support as we launched the GritIron Show today, and for allowing us to honor Carly. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and we're very honored to be here.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit more. So let's see. Abby, you're next.
Yeah. Well, as you said, today is International Women's Day. And in case you were wondering what exactly that is, it's a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. This year's global theme is #ChooseToChallenge. And that's exactly what we're going to do on this podcast. Challenge the status quo and provide a platform to celebrate the perseverance, passion, and lifestyles of women on the field and off the field.
And shout out to the man that's giving women a platform. So we're so grateful to Mr. Jordy Culotta and the Jordy Culotta Show team for accepting our challenge to add strong female voices to the CJC Media Network. We wouldn't want to be anywhere else today than right here in the undisclosed location for our inaugural show. So as Abby said, we're going to talk about things that are meant to be today. And I can tell you, I had no idea. Less than 10 days ago when I walked into Chad Sabady's sports communications class to share a little bit more about the GritIron Show, that I would meet this amazing junior who's pursuing her dreams in the world of sports journalism. And I can tell you, Abby, from the moment I walked in the classroom, I noticed you. You were on the edge of your seat the entire hour, and your questions literally brought joy to my heart. And I'll never forget, Nick and I, after the class, I was like, that's the girl that's going to help us take the GritIron Show to the next level. So we're excited to have you and so honored to share in this experience with you. And if you hadn't heard a little bit more about the backstory, Abby found out, actually, we hired her on Friday, and then on the following Monday, actually a week ago today, right?
Yep.
That she is the winner of the Carly McCord Memorial Scholarship for Women in Sports Journalism. So
I woke up last Monday and got the email, and I was like, are you kidding? What? How does this happen? It happened. It was just a sign that I'm in the right place.
When we're doing the right things, you just get those signs. And that was one of them that let me know that Carly is proud of what we're doing, and that people are coming together to make this thing happen. So, Abby, why don't you take a moment and tell the folks out there a little bit more about Abby Alonso?
Well, okay, let's start. So I grew up similar to you, watching football, learning for football with my dad. They had me in sports. I mean, dancing, basketball, soccer, softball. But when I didn't have practice, I was at the ballpark holding dummies at practice and learning what a gap was and what the plays were doing. I mean, I was running sprints at practice. I had my own jersey. I was a part of the team. I never did play a game time down, but I was still a part of the team.
Heck yeah.
At one point, I told my dad, I'm going to be the first girl to play in the NFL. And
Okay.
I think I was 7. And he was like, you know what, Ab, you can do anything you put your mind to. Like, if you work hard enough, you can. Well, I was set on playing football in the NFL. Later on, probably about 11 or 12, my dad was like, look, sat me down. He was like, I want to support you in this, but realistically, men are just built different. I don't know if this is going to work out.
Maybe not upstairs up here,
No,
but yeah, certainly body-wise.
Physically, they're built different.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, now what? And I'm like, I got to do something with sports. It's like ingrained in me. And I was like, well, I'm going to do something with football. I've got to. It's a big part of how I grew up. And I was like, I'm going to be on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be as close to the game as I could possibly be without having a helmet and shoulder pads on. So I started thinking about, all right, if I'm going to sideline, what do I need to do next? I continued to play volleyball and softball all throughout high school. Won a couple state championships. Shout out Mount Carmel.
No big deal.
Let's go, Mount Carmel.
Couple state champs in here.
We were rolling out some volleyball state championships, and shout out to the 2017 softball Cubs. You know, we put in that work. But yeah, won a couple state championships. Got to play with Shelby Wickersham, who's a pitcher, one of my very, very good friends. Great person. Watched her grow into the pitcher she is now. But I continued to play, and that's actually how I ended up sidelining for VSN with Eric Ritchie. We were prepping for the state championship, and he interviewed me about going there, whatever, doing a player interview. And after the interview ended, he was like, have you ever thought about doing this for a living? And I was like, actually, yes, this is what I want to do. And he gave me his card, and he was like, let me know when you want to start. And I've done lacrosse, volleyball, football, basketball, just started softball. And I mean, color commentating, sideline reporting, all that jazz. They've been awesome to me. Right before I did that, actually, God, I feel like I'm talking about myself.
We want to hear it, girl.
I know. It's just weird. Right before that, in my Twitter bio, I had future ESPN sportscaster.
Of course, it's going to happen.
Speak it into existence,
Yeah.
dude.
Well, look what happened, because I did that, and Darius Geis at the time, he was like the star running back here. So he DMs me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to interview me?" And I was like, "Bro, time out. I don't actually like sideline yet. Like, that's what I want to do, but I really don't have experience." And he was like, "No, it's okay. Like, let's do it." So we both happened to be at the Sugar Bowl in 2017. We met up. The interview is hilarious, honestly. I went back and watched it the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a joke. But it prompted me to start a website called Alonso Sports. And then after that, just the interviews started rolling in. Malachi Dupree, Cole Freeman, Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Buddy Hield, like just Deuce McAllister.
Wow.
It just rolled. So then somebody in the Saints press box came across the website, and I got an email, "Hey, do you want to intern with us?" And I was like, oh my gosh, the Saints. Like, I grew up watching them. I went to every Saints game with my dad. We've got season tickets. This is crazy. 4 years later, aside from the COVID season, I've been sitting up in the press box. I've actually sat with Fletcher Mackle, and I've seen Carly do her thing every weekend. And I remember sitting on the bar stool, the stool up in the press box. I'm like, first time I saw her, I was like, who is that? she just makes it look so easy. It's like, I need to talk to her, and I would talk to Fletcher about her. But so I got into the Saints, and then things just took off. It's crazy to think that it was only 10 days ago that you came to talk to me, because I feel like we've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. That just tells you we've been grinding out for hours on end, especially you. But I think everything has led me up to here, ironically. And I think this is one of the best opportunities I've ever gotten, and I'm excited for what it's going to do, not just for me, but for everyone else. But enough about me. I'm really tired of talking about myself. Whitney, let's hear more about you.
Well, look, I mean, Abby, we're excited to have you here. And let me tell you, the Gridiron Show is, I promise you, a stepping stone for bigger and better things that are coming your way. So keep grinding, keep hustling. We're excited to have you as a part of this team. And the story will continue. Now, I'm going to try not to talk too much about me, but we both committed to ourselves that this would be the episode where we tell people who we are, and then we never have to talk about it. We don't have to do it again.
Just get it out now.
Oh, goodness. Well, let me start with the fact of the most important job that I have, which is being a mom. So I have a 12-year-old sixth grader who's a multi-sport athlete. I am a proud boy mom. I mean, we're running between baseball, basketball, soccer, and I don't know how we even find our way through it all. But he's my everything. He's my motivation. He's the guy that helps me to put 2 feet on the ground every morning and say, I'm going to show you what mom loves to do, and I'm going to teach you what it means to follow your dreams and to follow your passion. But during the work day, I actually have a day job, but I'm on vacation today, just in case anybody's wondering or my colleagues are watching. This is a vacation day from work, but I'm actually a global marketing leader in corporate America, and I've been working for a company now for 10 plus years, have had tremendous opportunities to travel the world, to build brands. And I think that's something I really closely identify with, is I'm a creative, I'm a builder. I like to even call myself sometimes an elevator. I'm an elevator of people and ideas, and I enjoy taking people and ideas to the next level. And that's what I'm hoping to do with the Gridiron Show. I'm a Baton Rouge native as well, a graduate of Baton Rouge High. I like to throw that in there. Shout out to East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools, and a 2-time graduate of LSU. So Manship School, let's go Manship.
Heck yeah.
Always go Manship.
Nice.
Hey, come on, Lloyd. And then for whatever reason, I thought it was like a great idea with a newborn baby to go and get my MBA from LSU as well. But it also helped me to get an extra 2 seasons of student football tickets.
Now we're
on to the real reason why that happened.
There was an ulterior motive.
It's called a red shirt year. I took it.
You know, and if I had known any better, I probably would have done the 6-year undergrad plan. But no, I was in a rush to get out, on time and all of that. But shout out to the Manship School. They've been extremely supportive of this endeavor. And also of me and my son, as I actually had Jason the fall of my senior year. So they were supportive in making sure I finished school on time, and I'm forever grateful to them for that. But in March of 2020, it's crazy to think it's almost been a year for me. But my world was turned upside down. When I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer last year at age 32. And when I tell you it was a shock to my system and to my world, my doctors actually thought that my cancer had been growing for at least a year. I wasn't performing self-breast exams. It wasn't something that was on my radar. I was more focused on what country was I going to be traveling to next. I was doing I had perfected work conference calls in the shower with my AirPods and paying no attention to anything else. But needless to say, self-care was not my strength. And honestly, when I got diagnosed, I was angry. And I was pissed off about my diagnosis, because I like to pride myself in someone that thinks through anything that could come your way. But this one wasn't on my radar, wasn't even something that I thought was possible in my lifetime. And what I learned in this process was that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 8. And that number is a lot bigger than I even thought. And in response to my diagnosis, some of you may have heard about Day 18 campaign. And that's where I took out my anger and my frustration about being diagnosed with cancer, was in creating Day 18 campaign, which is all about encouraging women, and especially those under 40, to perform self-breast exams on the 18th day of each month. Now, there's also an LSU football tie to that. I mean, I threw in the 18 because I thought that, one day we're going to do something really cool with LSU football and maybe some of the former 18s in order to really bring awareness to it. I mean, like I said, I was 32. You can't even get a mammogram until you're 40 these days. And, performing self-breast exams for so many women will be the thing that can save your life. I mean, I was in a situation where my cancer was so advanced and so progressed that we were potentially on the verge of looking at this thing being a completely different situation. So I am extremely grateful to the staff at Our Lady of the Lake, Mary Bird Perkins and Women's Hospital, Breast and GYN Cancer Pavilion. They've now teamed up with Day 18, along with Mary Bird Perkins, Women's Hospital, and Louisiana Cancer Prevention. So we're going to be philanthropic here on the GritIron Show. Day 18, you're going to hear a lot about it on the 18th day of each month, along with our special appearances on the Jordy Culotta Show each month. That's important for the story that we're telling. And it has led me to the point where I said, hey, I can't continue to sit on the sidelines. Tomorrow's not promised to us. And so to even be here today, I was even thinking about on the drive over here, if tomorrow wasn't to happen, man, I am so glad about March 8th and what we accomplished here with the launch of the Gridiron Show. But Abby, you talked a little bit about football, and I mean, cancer and work are certainly a part of my story, but football, man, that's a special place in my heart. And for me, it started with my dad too. He took me to Southern University football games as a little girl. He's an interesting, I love my dad, but he's one of a kind. But he would pick me up so he didn't have to buy me a ticket to the game. So he'd walk me to the turnstile. Ultimate dad move. Don't worry about it, right? And what was great about it is he didn't just, want me to, watch the cheerleaders or to, watch the band, the Human Jukebox, which is amazing, or the infamous Dancing Dolls. But he taught me the game. I mean, he taught me, what's a running back, what's a quarterback, what's a defensive back, what's a safety. He taught me the basic schemes and penalties that come along with the game. So I started to pick up, I think, at an early age that football is a lot about strategy. And I think I've applied a lot of that into what I do at work and in business. And no offense to the three brothers that I do have, but Dad still calls me his favorite son, which is very, very true. And he loves to text me during games. He's like, oh my gosh, did you see this? And I'm like, Dad, they're running a 4-3 instead of a 3-4. What do you expect? The 3-tech isn't working. What are we going to change up? So, I mean, it can
There's
get
a lot of that this year,
it's
too.
A lot. Oh, come on, Durante Jones. I have faith in you, my friend. Let's
go. It can't
go.
be worse.
A violent defense. Oh, that one got to my spirit. I loved that one. But being from Baton Rouge, I've had a front row seat to some of the glory years of Baton Rouge football. So to see Southern and LSU in 2003 win their respective national college football championships, I mean, that parade downtown and that coming together of this city was unlike anything I think we've still yet to see. But it was just, I mean, it was an incredible, incredible day. I remember 2007. Now, this was the great part about being in college in the in the 2000s. But 4th and goal in the Florida game, Demetrius Byrd versus Auburn. You can't see me. I'll never forget USC losing to Stanford. Anthony Kimball was playing at Stanford at the time. So all the Baton Rouge kids in the student section was like, Kimball's making it happen for us to be number one. I even remember Brad Wing taunting at the goal line. I was there for that one. And then, of course, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, taking everything he wanted, both on defense and in special teams, But after my cancer diagnosis last year, tasting the sweet taste of victory on January 13th, 2020 with the best LSU football team ever, let me tell you, they helped me. They helped me fight through what turned out to be an insane 2020. 6 rounds of chemotherapy. I've now had a double mastectomy. I've undergone 30 rounds of radiation. And I've got a few more infusions left to go.
What's a couple more?
What's a couple more to throw in there? I think I'm done on tax day, April 15th. It's going to be over, which is going to be crazy.
There you go.
And then a reconstructive surgery this summer. But any day that I've had a struggle, I turn on an LSU hype video by the infamous Will Stout, and let me tell you, I'm like, okay, I can do it.
Yeah,
I can do it. So it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride, but I hope to bring everything that I've learned in this, not only this cancer journey experience, but throughout life, to what we're doing on the GritIron Show. And I want to say a big thank you to my friends, family, my colleagues, and there are so many people that I've never even met that have reached out with prayers, words of encouragement. As I like to say, Wit's fighting like a tiger, and we're going to fight like a tiger here on the GritIron Show as well. So we're looking forward to it.
Okay. So, wow, you sound like a real superhero. I'm not kidding. How do you balance everything that's thrown at you?
I don't sleep too much, but I did sleep good last night, actually, which was awesome.
Yeah, you did.
I did sleep. I sure did. Good stuff to get there.
Nervous.
Lloyd texts me, and I'm like, I wasn't awake, dude. Sorry. But I caught you at 5:50.
Made me look good, though. He's working hard.
Working hard all the time. But, to be honest, I would say I compartmentalize, but I also prioritize. And I have worked with a life coach for the last 3 years that has been amazing in helping me to take better care of myself. But also, like this morning, I got up, I did my daily meditation, I went through my routine. And so I'm able to give my all to each facet of life by saying, you know what, right now, this is what I'm focused on. This is what I'm zeroed in on. And then I'm able to, move through it and move to the next thing. So it's awesome.
How do you not get burnt out, though? Because how do you constantly just give 100% to everything, which you do?
It's unbelievable.
I just don't know how you don't get burnt out.
I would say, and I used to, and I'm very honest about this. I used to get burnt out all the time. I could go for 6 months nonstop, and then I'd hit that wall and I'd crash. But like I said, a lot of it now is all about self-care, and it's about being present and in the moment for whatever is in front of you, today, and be focused on today. Tomorrow is going to come. Those challenges are going to exist. But be here right now with, you, Abby, with Miss Karen, with this amazing team. It's about being present. And so, we'll keep it going. And each and every Monday, we're going to be present with a new episode of the GritIron Show, including some amazing guests that we're talking to. But now that we've given folks a little bit of our life story, we'll never have to do that again, which we're really excited about. But you've heard us mention that the GritIron Show has an angel that's guiding and inspiring us each and every day. And the story goes a little something like this. And I, again, want to get this out on tape so that way it is forever ingrained in what we do. But Jordy and I have been friends for a long time. And I called him up about 2 years ago and I said, dude, I've got an idea, about a podcast or a women's football talk show hosted by two former pageant queens. I had seen Carly doing her thing. I had seen her everywhere. She was killing the game. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be fun to have a show called Gridiron Queens? Like a little play on Gridiron and the pageant girl deal. Well, I'm a former Miss Teen Louisiana, and Carly had been a 3-time first runner-up to the Miss Louisiana title, and I had helped to prep her one year whenever she was Miss Baton Rouge. And we both loved football, but we loved so much more. And it was Carly who even convinced me to get Botox for the first time. And now I am every 3 months, if there's a sponsor out there who wants to sponsor our Botox, we'll talk about that as well. But the truth is, I never got the chance to really sit down and talk with Carly about the idea of the GritIron Show. And when we got the news in Atlanta, I texted Jordy and said, dude, is this true? And, my heart sank when I got that response. And my best friend and a former Miss LSU, Liz Dunn, and we were at the game, and inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, we couldn't even watch the game, to be honest. I think a lot of people felt that same way. And there's a mutual respect that exists among former pageant girls who excel at life beyond the crown, because the crown isn't everything. It's a stepping stone to what we want to do and where we want to go. And like I said, I think we all knew that Carly was destined for greatness. And one night in December, after being burnt to a crisp in radiation, I'm laid on my bed on my back because I can't move. And I saw the video that Northwestern State put together featuring the McCord and Ensminger family and Jordy, Matt Moscona. And that night, I feel like she came to me, and I cried because it was a reminder of just how amazing she was and her passions and the things that we all saw in her. And I made a donation to her scholarship fund that night, and I think that was the start of what and how we got here today. And that's why for me, making sure that she is a part of this journey, that she's a part of this story is critically important for me. I feel like she's been motivating me to get off the sideline and to get in the game, get in the arena with the Gridiron Show. And it only felt right and authentic to ensure that Carly is here with us today. So Miss Karen is with us. When we come back, we're going to get set and ready to roll because we're celebrating Carly today. It's International Women's Day. We're glad that Miss Karen is here and that all of you guys are locked into the Gridiron Show. So take a second to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And in just a moment, we'll be right back. And we're going to talk with Miss Karen McCord, Carly's mom. It's the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro. We'll be right back.
Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers. All over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the Southdown Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. Welcome to the Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro, a weekly podcast where we celebrate the perseverance, passion, and lifestyle of women on and off the field. The Gridiron Show with Whitney Bro is a part of the CJC Media Network.
We're back on the Gridiron Show. Welcome back. Thanks so much again for tuning in to our inaugural launch of the Gridiron Show. I'm your host, Whitney Bro, alongside Abby Alonzo and Mr. Lloyd Courtney behind the board. And it's International Women's Day. It's a huge day around the world celebrating amazing, amazing women. And we couldn't be more proud to dedicate our first show to a woman that had a grit like nobody else. And her mom is here to join us today. Thank you, Miss Karen, for being here with us. Welcome to the Gridiron Show.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor.
Let's go.
It's an honor.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes and allowing us to honor Carly today.
There was no other answer.
Well,
No other answer.
and I'll never forget when you and I got together, well, we talked for the first time about this idea. You were on a walk in your neighborhood, and you found something, and you sent me some pictures. Tell everybody why we know this is all meant to be.
Okay, this is the craziest thing. We're sitting on the phone and we're talking about everything and about the podcast and that sort of thing. And all of a sudden I said, Whitney, stay with me. This is the craziest thing in the world, but just stay with me. And all of a sudden, feathers started to fall from the sky. I am talking white feathers. No birds around me, no flock of geese, no anything, just feathers. And I'm like, Whitney, it's raining feathers. But the craziest thing is that feathers, when my dad died, he would always say, it was this book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and it was always about feathers and Richard Bach and illusion, and it focused on feathers. And he said, when I go to heaven, I'm going to give you signs in feathers. And so all of a sudden, Whitney is talking to me about this, and feathers are flying all over the place. So I'm taking pictures so that she doesn't think I'm lying or I'm crazy. And you know, and the dog is like, what are you doing? And I'm taking pictures, and I said, Whitney, look at this. There are white feathers everywhere. My dad is blessing you and Jordy Culotta, because I don't know if you know this or not, but Jordy is a relative of ours. My dad was Joe Culotta. He was on the radio for 27 years at WTIX, and Jordy was in the business, is in the business. Carly, of course, is in the business. I actually worked for WRKF a long, long, long time ago, and my husband was in the business, and I think we have a few other cousins who are in the radio business. No one got each other the job. It's just something that runs in our family. And so, Jordy, I guess the feathers were for you as well.
We're on a roll here at the CJC Media Network. Good stuff all around. So. And Miss Karen, you mentioned that it's, you know, the family has had some experience with a microphone all around. I mean, when Carly was growing up, was there a moment where you knew that she was going to gravitate to the microphone like other members of the family? Like, is there a moment that stands out to you where you're like, oh my gosh, here we go, the girl's going to have a mic in her hand?
Yep, it was called birth. Yes, it really was. It was called birth. And I truly mean that. I mean that. You know, Carly was actually in plays when she was a little girl, and she never had to audition. They would call her. Oh, yeah. LSU Theater would come and look at her. Carly was born with impeccable timing. And that is the truth. That was really her skill. She was a master at the game at birth. And, you know, she would cry on cue. She would laugh on cue. She would do everything. But she had a feel for that timing. And I think it goes back to maybe our family. We must have that gene somewhere along the line, because timing is always in our family.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, you know, I was mentioning earlier that this idea started about, you know, Gridiron Queens, you know, the idea of two pageant girls kind of coming together. And, you know, I know that Carly wasn't always a pageant girl, and it was not like her thing. Nope. But speaking about timing, I mean, how did she end up like in the pageant world and eventually being crowned Miss Northwestern Lady of the Bracelet?
Okay, there is a story behind that. Carly was never one to chase the crown. I don't know if she even knew the crown existed, to be honest with you. And it was the last day of high school. She and Kaylee decided to go ahead and drive to Biloxi and skip school. And so she skipped her choir class. She was supposed to sing at church, and she skipped the choir class. And so she got a C in choir. And consequently, it allowed her to not receive tops. Whoa. Now, she could have done better in geometry as well, but she didn't. And so she got a C. And so she didn't tell me. And so I'm at the graduation looking, you know, for her name with top scholarship on it, and it wasn't there. And she goes, oh, by the way, Mom, I skipped school, and we went to Biloxi. And so I said, oh, that's really nice. You didn't get your tops. So how are you going to pay for your college now? And she looked, and so we laughed. And so then about 6 months later, she comes up to us. You know, she had a little time to figure it out. Not even, yeah, probably 6 months. We'll give or take a few minutes. And she said, Mom, I've got this great idea on how I'm going to get my tops money. And I'm like, money to replace that tops money. And I said, and what is that idea? And she said, well, there's this thing called the Lady of the Bracelet at Northwestern State University. And that's where she went, and plugs to Northwestern State, go Demons, and go Tigers. Absolutely. I graduated from there. But, and so she said, if I win first runner-up, I'm going to get a free semester. If I win second runner-up, I'm going to get a free semester. You know, and so she had it that for the 4 years, all she had to do was win first or second runner-up. Perfect. So, and then, of course, if you win, you get a whole year's tuition completely paid from, you know, from room and board to whatever. And so anyways, so she had this all pegged. Well, the first year she got second runner-up, and she goes, good enough, good enough. This is all I need. And then the next year she tried out for Lady of the Bracelet. She gets there and she walks, you know, she's got that swimsuit walk that's just kind of flailing arms and legs and that sort of thing, and she's got this gown on, you know, that she's just like, yeah, here I am, world. And then, but then she had to sing. That was her talent. Yes. And she sang "Don't Rain on My Parade," and she was just on fire. And of course, there was interview, which she was always superb at. And so she went ahead and she knocked the socks out of the people. Well, when they crowned her the winner, it was like everybody said, "How did she win?" Because, you know, her walk was, you know, clumsy. And everybody goes, "How did she win?" And all of us in the front row going, "Yeah! How did we win this?" Oh my gosh, Carly's a pageant girl. And, you know, I've got to say that pageants for Carly was like finishing school. Yeah. It kind of put that refinement of her walk in there, because she always had the talk and she always had the talent. But she learned how to walk in a swimsuit, and she learned how to walk in an evening gown like a lady. Did she like pageants? Yes. Did she love pageants? No. And that really is a thing, you know. Absolutely. And there were rumors. I never saw it, but there were rumors that the last pageant, and by then Michael Lombardi had called her and asked her, you know, offered her the job and everything. But somebody said that she flipped the bird to the judges when they didn't choose her. But I don't believe that was
I'd have to see real tape. I'd have to see the tape. I'd have to see the tape.
You know, but those Vori boards and and the message boards and
what do they know?
Yeah,
where are they now?
Where are they now?
Let me go ahead and say that out loud.
Some mom probably made that up because Carly wouldn't do that.
Not at all. Not at all. But Carly was one of very few women to ever compete. I mean, just in pageants in general, to be in the top 2 3 times.
Actually, I mean, that I hate to correct you.
Oh, go ahead. 2 times. Well, I mean, twice is even a lot. I mean, what do you think she learned about grit or perseverance in continuing to go back and to try again and to fight for what she wanted?
Right. I think rejection was good for Carly because rejection taught her to go back and fight. Also, I do want to say, it taught her work ethic. Now, she always had work ethic. Sure. I don't mean pageants. I can't give them the full credit of that. However, she outworked everyone in the pageant world, in schooling, not in high school. That's she was there. But she did. She outworked everybody, and she knew how to outwork everybody. And interestingly enough, Carly never played sports.
Really?
No, Carly didn't like sports. Carly was a cheerleader, and we would watch her on the sideline, and a football game would happen, and they'd go 1st and 10, do it again, and she'd go, no, that's not the cheer you want to do. We're on defense. And so Carly did not know football. Carly came into football later in life. But when she came into football and basketball and baseball and volleyball and soccer, she outworked everybody. And it was really interesting because everybody thinks Carly was a broadcaster. Everybody thinks Carly was a person who was like an Aaron Andrews. But that's not really the case. Well, it is the case.
Right.
But Carly actually graduated in criminal justice and minored in Spanish. And she met Michael Lombardi. She was at Tiger Television. And how she met Michael Lombardi was an interesting thing as well. I don't know if I told you this or not. But she was standing on the sideline with Tiger Television, and she got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get her spot.
Yep.
And here was Michael Lombardi coming in to recruit, or I don't know if it was recruit, but look for their draft picks and that sort of thing. And he was looking for the draft pick of Barkevius Mingo. And so he was standing on the sideline, and she was, and he goes, excuse me, this is my spot. And she goes, excuse me, I was here at 5 o'clock.
Yes,
this is my spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Move.
And so all of a sudden, Michael Lombardi said, he goes, I like your spunk, kid. He says, do you know who I am? She goes, I don't care who you are. And then, of course, Michael Lombardi was the GM at Cleveland Browns. Well, they talked, and they did interviews and that sort of thing. But interestingly enough, Carly went to the Cleveland Browns as a scout, as a character scout. And she was going to be the in-house media person, but she was a character scout. She worked undercover. And that was Carly's degree, was criminal justice. And she was amazing at it. And she would go to spring breaks. She'd go on spring break. She'd go in bars. She would go into places, and she would actually scout these players out. And for anybody out there that thinks that your character doesn't count, it does. Because if they're going to invest that much money in you, they want to know if you're a good deal or not. Interestingly enough, when Michael Lombardi was let go at the end of the season, and Michael Lombardi was let go at the end of the season, and Ray Farmer took over, they let the whole staff go. And so Carly was let go because they cleaned house, as they say. And she always told the story of, she looked at Ray Farmer and she said, Ray, there's one thing you need to know. Do not choose Johnny Manziel.
Wow.
And Michael Lombardi would confirm that, and so would Ray Farmer, I'm sure. And he said, what? And he goes, don't choose.
Don't do it.
Johnny Manziel. Well, they didn't listen to her. That's, the rest is history.
Yes, it is.
So she, where Abby says your dad wanted to be the first person in the NFL, Carly was, I don't know if there was another female scout. I just don't know if there was another female scout, or if there was any other female that worked in that kind of capacity. Right. Now there might be, because it was kind of a thing that she and Michael Lombardi
really started.
And so, but by then she really, really, really knew the game. And she, like I said, she outworked everybody with her ethics, her morals, her knowledge of the game, her timing of the game. You know how you were saying that you called and Whitney was sleeping for the first time in probably 100 years. That would be Carly.
Yeah.
You know, Fletcher Mackle at WDSU and Carly would have conversations, or Matt Moscona or Jordy Culotta or any of these people. Carly would text them at 2 a.m. and they would think nothing of it.
Yeah. Outwork the competition.
Outwork the competition.
Outwork the competition. And Abby, being a student at LSU, pursuing her dreams, and now the winner of the Carly McCord scholarship, we're going to get you to outwork the competition each and every day, girl.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah. And, I have a question. As I've said, that's what I'm aspiring to do. What piece of advice do you think Carly would give me if she were here right now?
To outwork the competition.
That's it?
Most definitely, because there are, as you know, there are hundreds of girls saying, what do you want to do in life? I want to be a sports broadcaster. Right. Really? Do you really want to move to Cleveland? And do you have a mom that will allow you to move to Cleveland? I just wonder why God gave me that grace to let her go to Cleveland. I mean, not that I'm putting Cleveland down, but Cleveland, Ohio, and I went with her, drove with her. We knew no one there. I mean, no one. And the only time I saw Carly just a little bit afraid, I mean, just a twinge of afraid, she goes, Mom, when I got on the plane, and I left her in Cleveland, and I got on the plane, and she goes, okay. And I kissed her goodbye, and I hugged her, and I said, I love you. And tears were running down my eyes. Well, 2 weeks later goes by. The only number I have is Michael Lombardi. That is like having Mickey Loomis's number and the New Orleans Saints. I get a phone call from this guy named Armand. I don't know who Armand is. We have no idea. And he goes, are you Carly McCord's mom? And I'm like, yes. Why are you calling me on her telephone? Because she left it at a gas station. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The phone. She left the phone. Somebody stole my daughter. Okay, I am panicked at this time. I called my husband, Tracy, and I said, Tracy, what are we going to do? He said, whose number do you have? Michael Lombardi. So I picked up the phone, and I called Michael Lombardi. I said, Michael? We were on a first name basis.
Oh, yeah.
Point. Never met him, but, Michael, this is Karen McCord. And you've hired my daughter, Carly McCord. Her phone is at a gas station. In Mr. Armand's hand was nice enough to call me about this. And could you please tell me if she is at work? And if so, down. Call me back immediately. So anyway, she goes there and she realizes her phone is gone. And she gets on some phone and calls me back. And she goes, Mom, you don't understand. You don't call Michael Lombardi to ask me if you are at work. I said, no, young lady, you don't I will pick up the phone and call God himself if I have to. But Michael Lombardi is going to get a phone call every time.
Yes.
You leave your phone in a gas station. So, so to your question, Abby, you have to outwork the competition. You have to be willing to accept a job in the smallest of cities. And the biggest thing is, Abby, is you have to accept that you are not going to make lots of money. Carly started that job with $24,000 a year. You try living in Cleveland for $24,000 a year. When she told me she found her roommate on Craigslist, that is a whole nother story. But you don't make a lot of money at this. Carly was just on the precipice of really the big time. She had signed on at the NFL Network, and she was finally going to get a really good size job. That was the first time she was going to have to not work 8 jobs to make not a living, because she was married, of course, at that time. But you don't make a lot of money and everybody thinks you do, and you have to be willing to move, and you have to be willing to move wherever the job takes you.
Outwork the competition.
Yeah, outwork the competition.
And Miss Karen, we're hoping to keep Abby for as long as we can
I'm
until
not going
until that next opportunity hits the ceiling. But Miss Karen, we really do. We feel so honored that you were here today with us. Like I said, I mean, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for saying yes. It just felt right that we started this experience and this journey with Carly with us. And we're going to do a fundraiser every year for the Carly McCord Scholarship for young women pursuing sports journalism. Abby, of course, is one of this year's winners. And we're going to share more about, can you share a little bit more about the scholarship? And if people want to contribute, where they can do that?
Yes, I do. You could go to Northwestern State University. They have a website, and it's Women in Sports. And you can actually donate there. We so would appreciate that. We also do have there is also a scholarship at St. Michael's High School. And so if you're a St. Michael's High School supporter, there, and they give 2 scholarships a year for seniors. So that is a big deal. And then, of course, LAB. Yeah. Where you've received. We don't have, that's not Carly's foundation per se. But I do want to say there is a personal foundation that we have, and it's called Carly's Little Angels.
Yes.
And Kaylee started it.
Yes.
And Kaylee is Carly's sister, and she has a clothing company, a children's clothing company called Little Luann. And real quickly, how it got started is that Carly always loved Matt Moscona's son, Drew. And as everybody probably knows in this audience, Drew has a heart condition, and they have lots and lots and lots of medical bills. It's that they have to come out of pocket for. And so Carly always said, I want to do something for Drew, and I want to make a difference in his life. And so interestingly enough, she started this clothing line called Little Rainbows. And so if you would like to purchase something from Little Luann's, Carly's Little Angels, it's the Rainbow Collection. And we're almost ready to launch the second one. Wow. And this year's monies are going to go to a different family. And Matt and Erica Moscona is going to choose that family.
Amazing.
So it is. And then, of course, just to throw in, this weekend is Miss LSU.
Oh, yes.
And yes, and interestingly enough, Carly is Miss 2020 honorary Miss LSU. So if everybody wants to tune in to that, they can do that. And I don't know how to get tickets for that.
We will find out from the Delta Zetas at LSU, and we'll publish that. We'll also tweet out plenty of links and information for how you can look into the Rainbow Collection in order to make a purchase and support the Carly McCord Foundation, and then also St. Michael's and Northwestern. And so many incredible groups of people have come out to really honor Carly, and we're just lucky and feel blessed that we had the opportunity to do that here today with you, Miss Karen. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome so much. And real quickly, I have something for you guys. This is for the launch of your show. Yay. You might have seen these.
Yes.
These are the rocks that are at her gravesite. There's a lady, Luann Vaccaro, and she actually paints them. Wow. And she leaves them there for me, and she goes, give them to people who you feel that would most appreciate the rainbow. So there are your rainbow rocks.
We got rainbow
You
rocks.
might have seen them there.
I did. I saw them yesterday whenever I visited her, and left her a note just to say, that I hope that she's proud of what we're doing, and that that she continues to bless us on this journey. So thank you again, Miss Karen, for being here. We're so happy to have you. And Abby, I'm thinking let's keep rolling as we wrap up today's show. We've made history, obviously, for the first time, the GritIron Show. We've gone live. We've been on YouTube, Facebook. Our podcast is going to be loaded. The video from today will be loaded on the GritIron Show with Whitney Bro on our YouTube channel. But today is International Women's Day, and so we want to recognize just a couple of highlights. Maybe Lord, give us a little mood music in order to keep us going here. But a couple of highlights for women that have been doing some amazing things in sports. So Abby, what you got for us?
Well, this list is impeccable.
Give us some of your favorites
wonderful.
that are on there. Maybe your top
So
5.
history was made.
Yes.
For the first time in the history of women's conference tournament finals, 2 black head coaches faced off in the title game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. The SEC tournament pitted number 2 seed South Carolina by head coach Don Staley, and then 4 seed Georgia by Joni Taylor.
Wow. And I think South Carolina won that game.
Yes, they did.
They're on a roll, rocking and rolling. All right, who else you got breaking this glass ceiling?
Sarah Fuller.
Sarah Fuller, Vandy.
I was so mad at my mom. I said, that could have been me if you that could have been me.
Kicking
Look
field
what happened.
goals, and she did it. She made
Power
it
5
happen.
football
Commodores come through.
Yeah, Nicole Lynn, a sports agent with a top 5 NFL pick.
Let me tell you, Young Money Sports is hot.
Yep. Yeah,
Nicole Lynn, if you're watching, I am DMing you on every platform known to man. Please come on the Gridiron Show. We'd love to have you on. We want to talk to you. We'll clip that and send that to her.
And of course, you know, you got to shout out Lori Locust and Meryl Javid. I'm going to mess this up. I'm so sorry. Javidafar. Both work for the Bucks, and they both just won a Super Bowl.
First female coaches to win a Super Bowl.
What?
Shout out Coach Lowe. I've also been in your DMs a lot, and I appreciate you for responding to me. But whenever you get time, we'd love to have you on the Gridiron Show.
Absolutely. Amy Trask, first female CEO of an NFL team, 97 Raiders. Sarah Thomas, the first NFL female referee and the first female to ref a Super Bowl.
She sure did did a great job.
Oh, did
the
she?
respect from all of the coaches, the players, they know that she is well on her way. And the NFL just added another woman to their lineup for as referees. So lots of, this is International Women's Day, but women have been doing some great things, certainly in and around the game of football in the last year. And we're looking forward to celebrating even more.
Yeah, that list is growing.
First, that list is growing. And like I said, we're going to clip that, and we're going to be using that to help us pitch some future guests for the GritIron Show. So certainly you want to stay tuned. But as Abby and everybody has mentioned, we've been busy working extremely hard to bring you the best content, the best interviews right here on the GritIron Show. But we want to hear from you. If you've got any story ideas, segment ideas, interview guests that you want to hear from, or ideas on how we can improve, how we can get better, we're all about getting 1% better each and every day. So let us know. You can find us on social media at GritIron Show. You can also email us, thegritironshow@gmail.com. Today's show will also be available on our YouTube channel, GritIron Show with Whitney Bro. So be sure that you subscribe, and coming soon to all podcasting platforms near you, including Apple, Podbean, Spotify, all of it. We're going to get the GritIron Show loaded. And every Monday, you're going to be able to catch a new episode premiering of the GritIron Show, including this coming Monday. So if you want to find out, though, who our next guest, Miss Karen was our first guest, our second episode, which will go live on March 15th. Tune in to the Jordy Culotta Show on Wednesdays for our Women Crush Wednesday, where we're going to preview our next episode and also shout out some amazing women that are doing great things. So if you believe in what we're doing on the GritIron Show, and if you loved our first episode here today and you want to sponsor, we need a champagne sponsor, because Abby and we love champagne.
Oh, yes.
And if we can't get the big one, we'll take a champagne sponsor of any type. But if you love what we're doing and you want to support us, please feel free to reach out to Katie at JordyCulottaShow.com. That's Katie at JordyCulottaShow.com. We're looking for sponsors to help us take this thing to the next level and make it all happen. Woo! March 8th. Let it simmer for a second. March 8th. For Abby, Lloyd, myself, Miss Karen, the entire Jordy Culotta Show team, thank you for tuning into the first ever GritIron Show. Happy International Women's Day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Let's pop a bottle. Oh, there's literally a bottle that we can't label show, but we're going to pop a bottle. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.